Hi, YouTube. It is the Week 6 preview. We also have an interview with Illinois running back who is leading the country in rushing yards, Chase Brown. Great show.
The best show, one that you should comment on,
and
your favorite bet for the weekend.
Jack gives out another great unnecessary roughness bet. We go through a lot of the slate. We give out, I would say we give out some pretty good picks. I'm biased, but make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and if you don't comment, you don't like us.
Yes, like that's just not cool. Comment.
Even if you don't like us,
subscribe.
Comment.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
I'm good. Yesterday, I don't know what happened to me, but I just my body just shut down.
Oh,
I was just so tired yesterday.
Were you eating the bugs?
No, but I'm better now, so I think I just needed a day to sleep.
You just needed a day off?
Yeah.
The vibes in the office are weird because of the Mets.
The Mets, and then also it's this weird point of the football season where it's we haven't caught our second wind yet. We're all really tired, but we're ready for what's coming. The crazy part is, it's about to get more busier because NFL college football, obviously, but then playoffs, if the Mets make a run, and then also, before we know it, the World Cup will be here.
And the NBA.
NBA, NHL. So it's about to get busy, but that's where we make our money, so we have to perform. So, we'll be here 3 times a week no matter what.
Oh, yeah, always. I started my day today, and just the reason I bring up the Mets is because I was walking to work, and I passed by Penn Station, and I saw Frank the Tank walking, okay? So I also had to stop in and get Starbucks really quick, so I, ran in there, and by the time I got out, we met at a corner right before the office.
Hey, Frank.
And I was like, hey, Frank, how's it going? I should have known. It was too early.
Yeah,
I should have known.
What did he say?
He started giving me all these stats about how the Mets are going to lose. And Yu Darvish was a big one. He said something about how the Padres are 40-4 at Citi Field. And I was having such a nice day. I continued. I just was like, you know what, Frank? I feel like you need to vent. Go ahead and vent. And so that's how I started my morning, walking into the office, just being screamed at about the Mets.
He's going to vent to you, but then he'll just vent somebody else too.
I know. I was not special. I was not special at all. But that was my Thursday morning.
As a Met fan, he's a special breed. I'm not as big of a Met fan as him or Phil or Kevin or Clem, but I do watch the Mets a lot, and I'm excited for the playoffs. But the Mets, it's going to be an interesting ride. They should win these Padres games, but then after that, it's just whatever. I just hate the Braves, too. I really hate the Braves, and we probably have a lot of Brave fan listeners because they just own the South. But at the end of the day, we're a college football podcast, so why don't we get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. Hello. Welcome to Unnecessary Roughness. I did not want to say hi last time because, like I did on Tuesday, you jumped when I said that, Jack.
I know. No, I was just off. I was
you just off? It was just a bad day?
No, I guess my Pavlovian brain was expecting Brandon. You said it. And I was like, wait, what?
Yes. So Tuesday's episode, it was the longest episode in Unnecessary Roughness history, I believe,
Insane.
Right? It was
2 hours and 30 minutes,
I think. It was a fan-filled episode. So we are back. Brandon is still in the South dealing with a family loss. So again, thoughts and prayers to him.
I think we'll see him on
tomorrow. Yeah,
most likely. Oh, we'll definitely see him on College Football Show. Hopefully we'll see him on the recap on Saturday night.
Yes. So if this is Unnecessary Roughness, I think I already buried the lead. We are presented by High Noon. We have the tailgate pack in front of us again. You guys know the drill. 2 black cherry, 2 pear, 2 cranberry, 2 grapefruit. The fall flavors, I've been told, are popping. Everybody's obsessed with them. So make sure you get the tailgate pack. As always, we love High Noon. So just right off the top, we mentioned it. We'll mention it again. This is coming out Thursday night. On Friday, if you are in the East Coast or on the East Coast or you're in this area, we will be live, the Barstool College Football Show for Nebraska versus Rutgers. Friday Night Lights. Katie, you'll be there.
Yeah.
The first time we've ever done a Friday show in the history of this show.
I'm excited. I've never seen a school more supportive and just blasting out our information too. Rutgers football and athletic program. Thank you.
They are
been awesome.
Stoked. They're
stoked. Shout out Rutgers.
So the show will be at 5:30 Friday night. It's at the Athletes Glen area. I have no clue where that is, but what I've been told is it's in the shadows of the stadium, which is important.
If you walk around the stadium, you will literally not be able to not see us.
Or hear us, I can imagine, because we're really fucking loud.
Yep.
So show's at 5:30. The game is at 7, so plenty of time. Me, Dave, Dan, Brandon, Big Ev, Will Compton will be there. So if you are in the area, or, if you just are bored and it's Friday, come on out. We accept any and everybody there. So Nebraska Rutgers. Obviously, the game itself, I mean, we can just the game is awesome for them. Nebraska just really shit the bed this year.
No,
They
yeah,
really did.
But this is low key a massive game for Rutgers at home. It's probably one of their biggest home games in a while. Obviously, that Iowa game was a big one, but this is one like if they win this one, it's a very big deal.
Definitely.
And Nebraska, I mean, if Nebraska wins this, they're 2-1 in the conference, and they continue on as a potential winner of the Big Ten West, which is insane
crazy
to say. But
It's crazy.
But could you just pull up Nebraska's schedule?
The fact that their coach got fired and they're tied for first in their division is a sad sight.
So they have at Rutgers, at Purdue will be tough, but then it's like Illinois, Minnesota. They have a tough schedule, rounded off. But all this being said, if Nebraska, this is kind of a big game for Nebraska as well. If they win this one, they're 3-3. And they kind of get a little bit of hope back. So it should be a fun one. And
it'll be fun. And Rutgers is the birthplace of college football. If they've never told you that, I will be the first one to tell you that. I think it says it on the side of the stadium, like for real.
It does. Oh, no.
Yeah.
It is the birthplace of college football.
It is. So speaking of Illinois, later in this episode, we have an interview with Chase Brown.
Yes.
Who is leading the nation in rushing yards right now. It was about 20 minutes. He was awesome. He was great.
15 to 20 minutes. We talked about everything from his upbringing in Canada, then to a host family in Florida.
Superstitions.
Where he found out he wanted to be a pilot, and then it turned out maybe you'll be a pilot later, but not anymore. Everything I'm saying will make sense once you listen.
And of course, the Brett Bielema stories. We
Brett
had
Bielema.
We had to get into that. So that interview will be at the end of this episode. You don't want to miss it. It was great. And of course, like I love it when college athletes, when it takes them a second to realize that they don't have to be super like buttoned up. So his first couple answers, it was like you could tell like very trained well. And then once we kind of let our questions loose, he let loose. So great interview. We're going to get to the slate. We talked about this on Tuesday. The slate this weekend is great, especially the early window, the 12 o'clock window. So we'll get through all that. But let's go through the news first, Katie. Let's see what we've got here. Oh. We had to start with this shit?
Yeah, it seemed fitting.
Okay, so if Brandon was here, he would make some sort of fun of Paul Feinbaum right now. Because as we know, Brandon fucking hates Paul Feinbaum. But according to this Twitter account, it is not verified. So I don't know if
it's a former viceroy.
So it's true.
I trust him.
Okay, so I saw this come through and I was like, the problem with this tweet is that it's so absurd that it's probably real. And especially because it's the Paul Feinbaum show. So Brooks Bryant tweeted this morning, or yesterday, an A&M fan just told Feinbaum, quote, a hitman is a lot cheaper than a $95 million buyout. And then the tweet ends with, things are going well. Now, everyone knows how I feel about Jimbo Fisher. If this person was for real, I have an issue with us sounding like Auburn and Alabama fans. Because those people shoot each other over games. We're not shooting people.
I think Jack said it well when he retweeted from us.
What did you
Unnecessary
say,
roughness.
Jack?
He's like, wow, like we don't condone this, but wow.
Yeah, I just said we don't condone.
We do not.
Any idea of a A&M fan hiring a hitman to kill Jimbo Fisher, but a movie about a college football fan hiring or even like what a documentary that could be.
Jack,
like,
don't put this out there in the universe.
But who would be the hitman? Imagine if he came through in a milkman costume.
Shut up.
No, it's like I could see it.
Midnight Yell leader.
Midnight Yell. Yeah, Jimbo goes to Midnight Yell
KGB
and just happens to
sleeper
have
agent.
a heart attack or something.
I don't like this at all right now. But I will say when you were picturing that movie, what came to mind was Jamie Foxx in Horrible Bosses.
Yes.
Like, that's what I want. What was his name in that movie?
Motherfucker Jones or
yes,
something?
Yes, Motherfucker Jones. I would like to go out even further than what you just said, us not condoning A&M fans. I would say we should not condone any fans.
No, nobody
threatening to hire a hitman for their head coach.
No hitmans in general.
Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need the hitmen on the loose.
That way we're not complicit to any murders.
However, in a different world, and as you said, like a movie universe, it is crazy to think that people care this much. And it's Paul Feinbaum, though. And Paul Feinbaum has created quite a name for himself. But if you're going to get your crazy takes off, calling into the Paul Feinbaum show is where to do it. Because you're just amongst the crazies.
This being said, you could probably find an elite hitman to do a $5 million.
I don't think it'd be $5 million.
No, I'm saying elite.
Oh.
Like elite of the elite.
Just from movies, I feel like it's been like high six figures.
Yeah,
I feel like hitmen should be charging more.
If you're elite,
I feel
in the
like-
words of Kirby Smart, you're elite or you're not.
Yeah, the elite here would
what
be.
constitutes as an elite hitman?
They probably.
We don't know who they are.
I
So how
watched-
do you find them?
You'd probably have to go to the cartel or something, the mafia. I don't know.
I watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith last night, so this is very
Why is that trending on Netflix right now?
Because Brad Pitt and 'cause I think there's drama within that breakup that's resurfacing.
Because I watched the Dahmer series, and again, I know this is a college football podcast, but this is an important thing. The Dahmer series is fucking awesome.
It's very good.
Great. I saw Mr. and Mrs. Smith was trending, and I'm like, why? Well, this movie is like a million years old. Great movie. Just I couldn't figure out. That makes more sense. Yeah, I mean, listen. Everybody knows that football makes people crazy. Like we've mentioned many times, the reason I think Auburn, Alabama is the biggest rivalry in college football is because they actually kill each other over it. So if you're going to be killing people, I guess if you're an SEC fan, it's just means more. Just means more. So yeah, slow news since Tuesday. But
everything else is, I feel like, injury. It's just, Quinn Ewers is starting. It looks like KJ Jefferson's out.
Did you see
Will Levis may be out. I think
Which I
he's
didn't-
not going to play.
Earlier in the week, it was, he's fine. Fingers. And now everything's resurfacing that maybe it's not.
Yeah,
But-
and again, it's Thursday, so like even when we talked to Chase later in the episode, he had just gotten out of practice, but he said it was.
I have a tweet I want to read. This is
You have a do? Okay.
the breakdown of Jimbo Fisher's buyout.
Oh God, this can I say something?
2022, $85 million. 2023, 76. Then you get down to 2025, $58 million still. This is buyout. 2028, $29 million. And all the way down to 2031, that's when the buyout will be nothing.
These buyouts don't mean shit.
No,
there
no,
are
no.
donors
I
that have that
disagree with
chilling.
this. I disagree with that.
It's
No,
not.
no.
It's not just A&M.
No more.
I know that Jimbo Fisher is the hot topic right now because his buyout is so crazy, and how A&M came out when they hired him and said that the only problem with his 10-year contract is that it wasn't 15 years, which is an absurd tweet. If a school has donors that have hundreds of millions of dollars or their net worth is crazy and they hate a coach enough, buyouts don't mean anything.
I don't know. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but
Oil
not.
money, though.
But not. Yeah, I did see a meme where it's
No,
like
but
all the
it's
oil tycoons searching for new oil for the buyout.
But it's like oil. It's still oil money, but dude, $67 million is insane.
I know, but again, I'm speaking of this.
85 after this year. That's an insane amount of money.
It's a ton. It's a shitload. However, we talked about this on Tuesday, when you look at the 5 coaches that have been fired thus far throughout the 2022 season, a total of $60 million. And I know that's 5 different schools, but none of those guys had the resume that somebody like Jimbo does. And the thing is $60 million is a shitload of money, and those schools don't have anything near that. I mean, like Wisconsin paying $11 million to get rid of Paul Chryst, like that seems like a lot,
There
but
was
they're going to...
news that came out today about Paul Chryst. I guess he spent 8 months last year just not recruiting. So
That's a problem.
Without a recruiting staff, too. It
What?
seemed. Like without, I guess, a department. Or
Yeah, it was.
staff for
It
that.
seemed as if that was probably. Now this is definitely Wisconsin leaking out information to the right
As they
people,
do.
and then the Athletic writes an article about it, which is how these things work. And it's an article. It's like, here's the downfall of Paul Chryst. You didn't know what was going on, and then you get all the inside sources. But that was the main part of the Athletic article that came out, that he spent almost 8 months without really recruiting at all, which
How is that possible?
in 2022 is unacceptable. So,
But here, like, this is a legitimate question. How does a head coach in any type of atmosphere, any school, any level, I don't care, but especially a Power 5 school, especially a Big 10 school, not recruit for 8 months and no one care or no one notice? Somebody noticed that. Like, think about the crazy recruiting. You're a recruiting guy. You like the stars and know all of those things. Imagine like the people that are covering recruiting for Wisconsin just being like, oh, we just don't have any news for 8 months. That's why it seems fishy to me. That story doesn't seem right.
yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look more into the story. Maybe it wasn't.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying
No, I know you're not
like
saying that. Your point makes a lot of sense.
The Paul Chryst slander with that, which you're right. Anytime a coach gets fired, these stories come out of the woodworks because it's like trying to have a solid reason of why you would fire a guy, especially a guy that has all the Madison roots and seems so nice. These stories always come out to make the decision look more legitimate. However, if a head coach in 2022, with all the recruiting sites, all the news, all the social media surrounding recruiting, if he's not doing his job for 8 months, somebody notices. That's revisionist history.
Then
that's fucking crazy.
They're within the article. They brought up this guy who's a 6'2", 220-pound linebacker from Marist High School in Chicago. He visited Wisconsin for a football game as a prospective recruit, and Rolder was a late bloomer with loads of potential, the type of talent Wisconsin often identified early and signed. There was just one problem that day. So he went to this game. No one talked to him. No one knew who he was or anything about him. So the recruiting operation, he went to this game and no one really talked to him while I was at the game. By December, Rolder had blossomed into a 4-star prospect, and he signs with Michigan, and he's been playing really well for Michigan this year. The lack of recruiting department hurt that heavily, said another source familiar with Wisconsin's recruiting. They probably would have had Jimmy Rolder, who's now at Michigan. This is the guy that they're talking about.
So I've been trying to eat better. I got a human and all that I got to take into consideration. I got to give him all the nutrients. And obviously,
Facts.
HelloFresh helps me do that a lot because HelloFresh sends me the nicest meals. However, you know what one of my cravings has been recently?
I
a
have
bunch
no
of-
idea.
I know a few.
I know a
I've
few,
had a
but this
pickles.
may be a new one.
The Sloppy Joes.
Sloppy Joes, and where the Sloppy Joes from who?
Well, from HelloFresh.
Well, yes,
But
HelloFresh.
I have been having this weird craving for Sloppy Joes. I did watch It Takes Two recently. Have either one of you even seen It Takes Two? Have anybody seen It Takes Two?
No.
With the Olsen twins in it? God, I'm old. So in It Takes Two, they eat Sloppy Joes.
Oh, I've seen It Takes Two.
Okay, so in the camp cafeteria,
Camp
they
cafeteria,
eat
yeah,
the
yeah,
Sloppy
yeah.
Joes, right? So I did watch that recently.
I can almost taste the Sloppy Joe right now.
You can taste it, right? HelloFresh has one of the best Sloppy Joes on the market. I am not kidding. I absolutely love it. And so every single week when I go to reorder my HelloFresh, I'm always like searching out the Sloppy Joes. But if you're not having that craving, you don't have to get the Sloppy Joes. You can get a ton of different menu items. Like we've said before, they've got the fall menus right now. They've got 30 plus weekly recipes that you can customize. You can swap proteins or sides. You can upgrade. You can add proteins. You can also do gourmet meals. They have some great gourmet meals on the list. So we love HelloFresh. And if you happen to like Sloppy Joes like me, they do have great Sloppy Joes. You know the deal with HelloFresh. The ingredients travel from farm to your doorstep in less than 7 days. They are fresh. They're pre-portioned. It's quite literally made for idiots like me. It's step by step, the exact portions that you need.
And it's big portions too. It's not like the teeny weeny portions that are technical. Like, it's substantial size.
It is. And
It's
if
great.
you are cooking for just yourself, you can have leftovers. If you have a family like Brandon Walker, who has 17 kids, they have family packs. So HelloFresh, they help you, they cut down on the food waste. And again, it's delicious. And I cannot tell you how much I love the Sloppy Joes enough. Go to HelloFresh.com/Walker65 and use the code Walker65 for 65% off.
65%.
That's a lot.
Shout out HelloFresh.
Shout out HelloFresh. So plus free shipping. That's 65% off plus free shipping. Walker65 at HelloFresh.com. Make sure you use /Walker65. So you use the URL, HelloFresh.com/Walker65. Put in that code Walker65 and eat your Sloppy Joes.
I've also side noting a little bit of breaking news for Casey. Seems we might have Max Johnson out for the year.
You know what? It doesn't change anything for me.
Ian Fitzsimmons tweeted out, "I am told Texas A&M QB Max Johnson has a broken bone in his throwing hand. Sadly, he might be done for the season, or at least the foreseeable future."
We'll get to that when we talk about A&M Alabama because I have some thoughts, but we'll get to that. Thank you for that because the hits just keep coming. So back to this story though, is that so if that is all true, which I can imagine this person that wrote this is doing a lot of research. Not only was Paul Chryst and his staff not recruiting well, because that's clearly what the bigger part of this is. The smaller part is, isn't there like a whole department at every single major school that has like hosts? Usually it's like really pretty girls, like all these things. Again,
I guess Wisconsin doesn't do that.
What?
Wisconsin doesn't do that very much.
They don't have like people that show them
They definitely have
around?
a department, but I mean, obviously nothing great, because the last time that if there was a top recruit, not even top, but he was a guy that was there visiting Wisconsin on a day, you would think the recruiting department would take care of a guy who was visiting
Or the
for a
boosters or
game.
somebody. So shit
here's
was
a
going.
quote.
After Dan Mullen, like we saw Dan Mullen kind of get outed because of a lack of recruiting.
With
like
Wisconsin?
every other.
But people knew that Dan Mullen, like there was already kind of like swirling rumors around that he didn't give a shit about recruiting at Florida. Like Paul Chryst, that's just now coming out for 8 months.
With Wisconsin, the way they recruit, they've never been a school that does a lot of recruiting with bells and whistles, says Alan Trio, a Midwest football recruiting analyst for 24/7 Sports. They do what they do, and they have success with it. So it doesn't seem like they're really...
Can I just go ahead and say that if in 2020, the year of our Lord, if you're not recruiting with bells and whistles, you're never going to be a top program? I understand Wisconsin has had a lot of success, and they have, in the last 30 years have continuously kind of been in that, especially the bully in their own division. But with all this stuff that schools and teams are doing now, you have to recruit with bells and whistles.
Another recruiting source said that because Wisconsin's department was so understaffed at the recruiting, that I guess somebody left to go work for Michigan State. Those tasked with tracking and interacting with recruits during home football games weren't provided with lists of which players would be attending. This is all from The Athletic. That's how Jimmy Rolder slipped through the cracks, the guy we were talking about.
That doesn't make any sense to me. And I understand, and The Athletic does a great job with these kind of pieces, so I believe it's all true. How in the world does that goes back to, when we talked about on Tuesday, the difference between the Wisconsin and the Nebraska programs and like the jobs themselves. If you can't find a human being on staff that wants to help with on-campus recruiting guys, what the hell is going on in that program? I mean, that seems to me like there would be a line out the door inside the athletic department alone that would want to take that next step.
Recruiting has changed so much in the last 2 years, said the recruiting source with direct knowledge. The best way I can describe it when talking about Paul Chryst's recruiting strategy was that he was really outdated in his recruiting approach. I think he kind of was stuck in the old age of recruiting in the 90s, where you just wrote letters and only interacted with kids when they came to campus. For the 8 months, no one really took the bull by the horns and just kind of floundered. No one knew what to do. So it seems like there was
a problem.
Okay. Chryst, all right.
So what?
Okay, so the director of player personnel, Saeed Khalif, left. Saeed Khalif, I'm pretty sure, has sent mean tweets to me about Michigan State because he left Wisconsin to go to
What's his title?
Director of player personnel.
That's Michigan State?
He's now at Michigan State.
And he's sending you mean tweets?
Yeah. He quote tweeted mine. It's like, big green nation, like this guy stinks.
I feel
guess
like
what? I was right, Saeed Khalif, but I guess
I also feel like that's just probably something he should not do.
Well, that's how deep I was in there.
You were living rent-free,
emotionally ruined them. That Saeed Khalif was tweeting at me.
Do you think they had like a meeting about it? In a world, I would love if it was like just even if it
I
was
bet
like
Mel Tucker really has no idea who I am outside of maybe he's seen like 2 or 3 tweets.
Okay,
like he wouldn't know me.
Maybe not Mel Tucker, but maybe it was like an unofficial meeting where they're all sitting around and this guy, what's his name again? Saeed?
Khalif, who left Wisconsin last year
to go to
Michigan State. And then I guess Paul Chryst did not replace him except for this guy. His name's Johnson something. Eric Johnson, already on the staff as Wisconsin's executive director of football administration. Johnson spent a lot of time.
First of all, I would love to live in a world where they actually did talk about you and everyone was like, we're going to gang up on this guy. With all the changes that's happening in college football, with all the evolution and the NIL deals and conference realignment and everything that you have to do to keep up in this sport, I would venture to say the absolute worst thing that you cannot be good at is recruiting. And if this information from The Athletic that's coming out about Paul Chryst is saying that he was recruiting from the 90s, brother, it's 2022. And I know things have changed a lot in the last 2 years, but if you don't evolve your offense, you're getting left behind. If you're not in on the NIL deals and evolving all of that, you're going to get left behind. The single biggest thing that you'll get left behind on is not evolving how you recruit.
I guess that's where they got lost. And a lot of Wisconsin fans were pointing towards 2019 to 2021. Wisconsin had a bunch of great recruiting success. Then I guess this guy, Saeed Khalif, left to go work at Michigan State, which if you are going to give Michigan State credit for something, they do have a great, like their recruiting approach does seem very different. Like they have gotten themselves on the map. Seems like a lot of recruits are interested in them that typically aren't interested. So Saeed Khalif goes over there and is obviously implementing a much better program over there. But I guess after that, Wisconsin did not adapt properly enough with their new,
didn't backfill
like
enough.
their new people.
Can't do that.
And then their Wisconsin's 2022 class, the first class, which was this year, class of 2022, that did not have Saeed there. They ranked number 44, where they uncharacteristically whiffed on the 4-star in-state offensive lineman, a guy who went to Ohio State and Notre Dame. Though that's traditionally a staple of their program's success. They always get the great guys in state. And they didn't get it, and that was a great indication. And then their 2023 class, which is up right now, that's coming up, it ranks number 54. So now that we kind of see it from the outside looking in, you can kind of see why they, and then this season's success or lack of success, they're like, okay, we got to cut it.
Okay, so bigger picture. So we know that this was happening. This is coming out of Wisconsin. But bigger picture, what is the single worst thing that you cannot adapt to in college football right now? It has to be recruiting. If you're still thinking that writing letters and visiting high schools is the way to go, you're going to get left behind and your ass is going to get fired, right? I can't think of a single thing that a college football program or a head coach could not adapt to that's worse than recruiting.
Well, yeah, that's where his failure was, and that's why he got fired.
You're going to, hot take here, if you're not good at recruiting, you're going to get fired.
No,
That's just a fact.
Yeah.
You'll get worse players.
Like, if recruiting is important, which you think that it is, most people think that it is, if you can't recruit a kid in 2022 to want to play for a school like Wisconsin because you're still writing Dear John letters, or what are they called? What are the letters where you write and like you just change the name? Do you know? So you guys are too young. Nobody.
Formatted letters?
No, Brandon would know. Brandon would be here. Like it's like I don't know. I sound so old. You know what? Never mind. You guys have you ever written a handwritten letter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you, Noah? Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
All right, just making sure. I figured you guys like had like iPhones in your hand. Anyways, you can't. There is not a single thing a coach can be worse at that's gonna get your ass fired quicker than recruiting. Period.
And good recruiting can save bad on the field results.
Absolutely. But the thing with like a lot of coaches, when you see like, you know, we talk about and we like to throw shade a lot at programs like Tennessee, programs like Texas A&M, whichever ones you want to look at that have really great recruiting classes, but then they're not developed on the field. Again, if you can't even get those 4 and 5 stars on campus to develop, you're fucking up from the beginning. I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I don't know much about Paul Chryst. I don't know much about him as a human being other than what you read and of how nice a person he seems to be. But that's just basically setting yourself up for failure. Like there's no way anybody can ignore recruiting for that long. So again, in 2022, I don't know, just recruit. Doesn't seem like that difficult of a thing.
ABC, always be recruiting.
Always be recruiting. As we've mentioned a million times, we will be at the Rutgers-Nebraska game, Barstool College Football Show, Friday Night Lights. And if we will be going to the game thanks to Game Time. And if you are going to the game, or if you're thinking about going to the game and you don't have tickets yet, you should check out Game Time, Jack. That's what we do here.
I'm actually checking out the prices right now, and let's just say the prices on Game Time are a lot better than any of their competitors.
Well, they guarantee the lowest prices, Jack. They put the G word.
They put that G word, and we've had tons of Barstool fans and employees use it. You've used it. I've used it. I've used Game Time since like 2016. Game Time's been in my phone for a very long time. And that's because it's such a great app, and it's crazy to think down the road, I ended up working at a company where Game Time, it's like, no, we're going all in on Barstool, and
They are all in.
And that's that, and we think Game Time for that. So in turn, we want Roughnecks to go and support Game Time.
Yes.
Because we know you love going to games.
Right. And if you don't love going to games, then you love going to concerts or shows or anything else. So if you download the Game Time app and you go to the account tab, create a login, use our code ROUGH, ROUGH. You should know how to spell it by now if you're listening to this podcast. But again, it's ROUGH. You get $20 off your first purchase, which is a good amount of money when you're looking at tickets that are already the lowest price guaranteed. Again, if you are in the crowd for the Barstool College Football Show, Game Time will be giving away tickets or upgrade tickets to a fan in the show crowd. So again, go to the Game Time app, use code ROUGH, download Game Time, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Okay, so not much news. Let's look at the slate. By the way, we had a college football game on a Wednesday night last night. That was beautiful.
A little preview of Maction almost.
Yeah, UCF SMU. Jack, did you have a bet on that game or anything?
Mm-mm.
I didn't either, and I felt left out on Twitter. I was like, shit, I should have done that. So Friday night, obviously, Nebraska Rutgers, we mentioned. Houston Memphis.
I don't know if I've said it. I don't think I tweeted this, but I said this on the podcast. Everyone was so excited for Houston beginning of the year. They thought they were going to be Cincinnati. And I was like, they have one player. They have one receiver, good quarterback. I don't get it. I'm pissed I didn't toot that horn more.
Yeah, Houston always has that. I mean, because they always have a name of a coach. Obviously, right now they do with Holgerson. But Houston, they're always just in the mix, though. It's one of those schools and one of those programs that, I mean, they're playing at the primetime game on ESPN. It's on ESPN too, but it is Friday night. But I feel like Houston-Memphis should have more buzz around it. I don't know,
No, I mean, Houston's what, 3-2? 2-3 almost?
But just like the names, I mean. Like when you look at like the Houston-Memphis game, like if it was, I mean, yeah, Houston's 2-3, Memphis is 4-1.
I mean, I don't.
But yeah, Houston, you're right, Katie. Houston just absolutely, like, God, everyone talked about Clayton Tune. I don't know. Anyway, so.
No, disappointing year so far for Houston, without a doubt. This is a game that should be, I mean, it will be a good game, but it's nothing spectacular.
Yeah, nothing. So
our Houston's down to their third string running back, so that's tough for them. They really should have beat Tulane last weekend. They really should have beat Texas Tech. If that all worked out, then they should be 4-1. Kansas really boat raced them, though.
Yeah, they did. So we'll look at the slate. We'll go in order, but I think that like I mentioned, the noon slate is the big.
We'll start with the noon.
The big standout. But I was going to say, what do you think? Oh, what were you going to say about Friday?
For Friday, the Colorado State Nevada. I know the game is gross. I'm not going to watch it, but I just know that there's going to be some shit talking around it because of Jay Norvell, because he went from Nevada to Colorado State, and I just want to see.
Colorado State needs to win a football game, I would say.
They probably still won't now.
I would say that Colorado State needs to win. That would be.
They need to, but I don't think they will.
Yeah. Okay. So when you look at the noon slate, or actually, let's just say like overall, when you look at Saturday, Jack, what do you think the biggest game is?
No, let's just go noon.
You want to go?
Yeah, we'll start with noon.
Because usually we talk about like the big matchups. I would say TCU Kansas is the biggest game, which is the noon slate. Tennessee LSU, obviously a really big one as well.
Let's just go through noon.
Yeah. No, I was just setting it up. I was just setting up which I think the biggest games of the weekend are. So Michigan, Indiana, Michigan number 4. Obviously, Indiana is not a great football team. I don't even know what the line is right this second.
22.
I know that Michigan has had slow starts. I don't think that this game. By halftime, I don't think anybody's paying attention to this game. I think they're absolutely going to kill Indiana, and I know we've talked about this too, and. Michael Penix Jr., like that has to still, like Indiana fans have to be a little bit salty about that, how he's playing at Washington, right?
I guess, I mean, they lost their coach that's now at Washington, that went to Fresno State, then to Washington, Kalen DeBoer. That really seems like he's the one who's unlocking Michael Penix's tremendous play. But yeah, Indiana, they're 3-2. It's a weak 3-2 start. They could have lost to Western Kentucky. They could have lost to Illinois, who would be undefeated at this point if they finished that game. So Indiana's not very good, but I mean it's a home game. It's against Michigan. Indiana, maybe they'll have a full house. you never know. This could be a sneaky game, but I don't think so.
Yeah, this to me screams like, Blake Corum has a pretty good day.
Michigan really should take it to them. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. So then, obviously, Kansas TCU it's in Lawrence. It's the biggest game to me, which is crazy that we're saying that because, TCU 4-0, Kansas 5-0.
They might go bowling if they win.
Yeah, College game day will be there. The biggest thing to me with this, and Jack, I know you are a TCU. You got a helmet now. You are Horned Frog for life.
Yeah.
The quarterback matchup between these two teams. So you've got Max Duggan, you've got Jalen Daniels. Again, it's Jalen, not Jaden. Jalen. There are two. When you look at their stats on the season, they're almost identical. So Max Duggan, 997 yards and 11 touchdowns. Jalen Daniels, 983 yards and 11 touchdowns. I think Jalen has 1 interception on the year. So the quarterbacks of both of these teams are having incredible seasons.
Yes.
So do you think that, because TCU's defense has been playing really well, we saw what happened against Oklahoma. Now I know Dylan Gabriel got hurt, but when you look at this matchup, like TCU's coming off of an incredibly emotional win over Oklahoma. Can this team get back up for Kansas, which is crazy to think? I think they can.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there would definitely be... I mean, I'm not really quite sure Kansas is that good.
Really?
They got outgained by 100 yards last week. They really should have lost to Iowa State. They also they beat Duke handedly, which is a decent win. Houston, like it was, they did what they had to do against Houston. But then also, if you look at West Virginia, really took it to them too. I think a few different bounces. I mean, that's the beauty of college football because there's always some bounces that go the way of teams, and that we have a team like Kansas. It's like, oh my God. Can't believe Kansas is 5-0. But I think this is just a wake-up call that they're not that good and TCU is going to roll them. That being said, 6.5 point spread, I think that's about fair. Obviously, I just said TCU is going to roll them, but I think the more so this offense puts motion on tape and how they're really getting everyone into open spaces, their offense will get figured out, and I think TCU will be able to do that. And their defense just isn't great. Kansas really should be coming into this game with a loss against Iowa State. The fact that Iowa State fumbled that bag last week was really disappointing, and I think TCU is definitely a side here that I like, and they'll be fine getting up for it. It's a game day. It's like college game days there. How do you not get up?
How much of this do you think has to do with how much you love TCU?
I mean,
Katie just whispered a lot under her breath.
No, I do. But
no, I mean, obviously you're right.
I mean, Jalen Daniels didn't throw for 100 yards last week.
Yeah, they had a weird game, and obviously their leading or their starting running back did get carted off the field versus Iowa State. He will not be available. Daniel Hishaw, I believe, is how you say it. But I do feel like, Jack, you're a TCU guy now, which is fine.
Yeah, but I think this is like I'm not a believer in Kansas outside of the fact that... This is a letdown spot for them? Not even a letdown. It's just like they're not very good. Like they're not the 19th best team in the country. I get why they're 19th. They're 5-0. It's a great story, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, if TCU loses to Kansas, something's going to really poorly... Something's going to have to happen. I don't know.
I don't want to live in a world where Kansas loses yet.
It's going to happen on Saturday.
I don't want it to happen.
Well, I'm sorry, it's going to.
Well,
emotionally prepare yourself.
Are you guaranteeing it? You're putting a G word on this?
No guarantee. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a 6.5 point home dog. You never know. It's in conference, but
I like the Kansas storyline, Jack. Let us.
That's
have
fair.
It.
No, I mean, if they win, I'll look dumb and stupid, but at least they're 6-0. It's cool.
You won't look dumb and stupid because TCU is a very good football team. However, I feel like whenever a team that's been so bad and like the laughingstock, like Kansas, which they have been, and all the storylines, and like think about how just last year how much clowning everybody did on Texas because they lost to Kansas, and now Kansas could be 6-0. The whole college football world loves a story like that.
Oh no!
And if you don't, you're an asshole. If you don't love Kansas being 5-0 and undefeated right now, you're an asshole.
I don't hate that they're 5-0.
I think that you do.
No, I don't hate that they're 5-0 at all. I think they're a great team.
Jack hates
but they're
Kansas.
not. They're gonna get exposed this weekend, and It's a great storyline. This is what college football is all about. Shout
Jack
out
hates
5-0
happiness.
Kansas, but this is the last time.
You hate happiness.
No, I don't hate happiness.
I have a question. If it
I
wasn't-
love 4-0 TCU more.
Right. See, that's the thing. That's what I was going to go. If, let's just say, okay, so outside of like Michigan State, outside of I'm trying to think, like, you have emotional ties to these teams. Let's say Kansas was playing Texas Tech.
Well, last week they played Iowa State. I bet Iowa State.
So you just want Kansas to lose.
No, I just think they're not like they're.
I think he has an emotional
much-
attachment to TCU that's blinding his love for Kansas.
I
They've
mean-
covered the last 8 games, but
They have, yeah.
Kansas.
I mean, facts. Yeah, that is true.
I don't like the vibes of you not liking Kansas. Also, remember, I don't like TCU, so.
The 5-0 against spread.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the game of the. It's one of the games of the week.
I think it's the biggest one. It'll be fun to see. Also, just from a bigger standpoint of looking at conferences, the Big 12 has been a topic of conversation over the last few weeks because of how crazy it is. And Oklahoma losing a couple weeks ago, then losing again. Quinn Ewers is back, and we'll obviously talk about the Red River Shootout. But the fact that we have a ranked on ranked matchup, a conference game between TCU and Kansas, they're both in the top 20 in the country, is crazy for the Big 12. Like, that to me, and it's not week 1 or week 2 when the standings are like complete jokes. I mean, they're still a little bit, but we're solid week 6. The Big 12 having a matchup between TCU and Kansas that's really important for the Big 12 conference is crazy.
No, and it's cool.
I feel like I'm on drugs saying that.
No,
out loud.
yeah. Preseason, we would have, if we had to rank every Big 12 game, this probably would have been like the 60th best game.
If you would have said to me on October the 6th that we would say the biggest game of the weekend was TCU Kansas, I would have asked what drugs you slipped in my drink, a la Jeffrey Dahmer.
Also,
You aren't going to eat me, I hope, but
I'm not going to.
Thank
but
you, I hope
Lance Leipold, there is some rumors swirling around the Kansas program too, because Wisconsin jobs open. He had to deny that he was looking at that this week. I don't think the players even care. Players are just like, let's win. It's just going to be a tough task. I think TCU is really good, so we'll see. And I'm excited for this one.
a point in favor of TCU is that apparently this year
Fun suckers.
Dawson said that their practice schedule's 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So the players are used to
Dawson's a politician for TCU.
Dawson needs to run for like whatever like the title is for people that it's like the PR for the football team, but it's unofficial. I don't know what that would
he
be.
does a very good job. But it was saying, so they are used to practicing in the morning. So noon kickoffs for them are right on schedule. Like they're used to playing that. There's less time for anxiety, for like building up. Like that is in their daily routine. So noon kickoffs.
And they played really well at noon kickoff last weekend.
They did do that, and I love, if you go back to Tuesday's episode, whenever Dawson said that like they felt like, the TCU players felt like OU didn't care to be there. It's like, again, if you would have told me that a few weeks ago, I've been like, what in the fuck are you talking about? So I'm not taking anything away from TCU. TCU, great season. Max Duggan has had a great season. I just don't want to live in a world where Kansas loses.
I also realized what you said about the stats earlier, about them being equal. Duggan has done that with one less game.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the attempts too. I mean, Max Duggan is 70 of 94, and Jalen Daniels is 73 of 107.
Max Duggan's done it with one less game, but also he's done it with almost like 1.5 less games because he didn't start the first game.
True.
It is, yeah. So the stats are close,
Speaking of
but
OU, perfect transition. We got the Red River Shootout.
The Red River Shootout. You will never live in a world where I will call it anything but the Red River Shootout, because anybody who doesn't like that is soft. Like Katie brought up, everybody's been talking about, this is the first time that we have seen this game since 1998 that neither team is ranked.
First time since 2009 Texas is even favored.
Quinn Ewers is going to be starting, and I know Sark was trying to like play around with that a little bit this week and saying,
I think it was official today.
Yeah, so
before-
Sark said that both of them are available, both of them are ready, and then we're like, all right, we get it. And then other people, Pete Thamel was like, yeah, Quinn's starting.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, no shit, Quinn Ewers is going to start. He should start, but Sark was kind of, I love when coaches come out with those quotes like, well, we're going to put the best guy in, for who we feel like the best guy is for the situation. Just fucking tell us. We know it's Quinn Ewers. As of right now, unless something has happened since I've when we sat down, Dylan Gabriel is still in concussion protocol, right?
I don't know if a concussion protocol necessarily, but like there's status is unknown versus game time decision. Like I think it's still in the unknown. Like it's not even like we'll see. I think it's just still far out.
From him going into concussion protocol, and I know that, I mean, obviously concussions are always a big deal. I feel like if he even remotely was having to be on or off that list at some point, and I know it's the NFL versus college, but you can't dick around with concussions, even more so right now because of what happened to Tua a few weeks ago. Like in the NFL on Sunday, there was a ton more guys that got taken off the field going to concussion protocol because we were talking about it way more. If Dylan Gabriel was even flirting with that list, he should not play on Saturday. And I know I'm not a doctor. But you can't roll a guy out there if there was even remotely a possibility of a concussion, right?
It seems Sark is preparing for him.
Well, they have to. But I would assume he's not going to play. Again, I don't know. We're recording this on Thursday night. We'll see. And the internet doctors will go crazy one way or the other. But so now you've got your guy, General Booty, in the mix. Jack,
Yeah,
you love General Booty?
I think there was a guy who also came in last week. I forget his name.
Nick Evers.
I think
Yeah.
that was the guy who came
Nick
in.
Evers is the true freshman. There's Davis Beville. I don't know. Beville.
That's the guy who came in last week.
Yes, and then they have a true freshman who apparently Brent Venables has said is available, which I would assume they would only allow him to play if they absolutely need him to.
Yeah, you can do a 1 game red shirt. You're fine.
I feel like this game, because it always is, no matter, usually if one team is much better than the other, there's still weird things that happen because both of these teams are not ranked. We talked about it during the Kansas TCU preview that the Big 12, this isn't even the biggest game in the Big 12 of the week, which is wild. Usually it's one of the biggest games in the country, which it always will be because of the rivalry that it is. And of course, if you're a gambler, this is a huge over game. But this game is so much about pride. And regardless of if you're an OU fan or a Texas fan, like you want to win this game every single week. Yes, you want to win every single game, but if you are a fan of one of these teams, you circle the Red River Shootout every single year. You fucking hate the other side of it. You hate their fans, you hate their mothers, and you go to the state fair and go to the Cotton Bowl just praying that you beat the shit out of the other team. And both of them are kind of in this, I mean, they're both 3-2. Oklahoma hasn't won a conference game yet. And now you've got Quinn Ewers back for Texas. I mean, this game could be just an absolute insanity fest.
Do we think that if Venables wins this game, it's like back to neutral with him?
No, I don't. I think it helps for sure. But there's also this weird thing that's going on too, which again, it's social media. But, I read something, I believe it was Sports Illustrated. Trevor Knight came out. Trevor Knight obviously played for OU, had great success at OU, then ended up playing at A&M for his grad transfer year. But he made the comment, and a lot of Oklahoma fans disagreed with him, and a lot of Oklahoma fans agreed with him. It was very split down the middle, where he said he thinks that this is a lost year already for Oklahoma. Now, obviously, it's only October the 8th when they play this game, but in his mind, which we've talked about on this podcast, losing 2 games already this early in the season, he's saying that you will not be competing to be in the college football playoff. That's just a fact. OU fans that were mad about it were saying, well, how can you say that with first-year head coach? It's like, well, for Oklahoma, that's not the standard. This is not what they're used to. And like I said, for this game, if they beat the shit out of Texas, yes, I think that's fine. But there's so many things that go into why Oklahoma fans are down bad right now. Beating your rival absolutely helps, but that still doesn't fix all the problems either.
Yeah, I also think since the Quinn Ewers being back became official, the line moved 2.5 points too because it's 7. I think Texas is going to beat the shit out of Oklahoma.
I mean, Jack, you're a Texas guy. What do you think?
Yeah,
Jack is just. You know what I've realized? Jack's just a university in Texas, not University of Texas. Universities in Texas, Jack just loves.
I mean, I don't love A&M.
Well, you have in the past, Jack. Okay?
And I don't love Houston after what they did to me last weekend. Because Houston is dead to me. So, but you're right. There are 2 schools I have in Texas. On paper, this game should go a way of Quinn Ewers just dicing up Texas or Oklahoma, as we saw last weekend that TCU did, and Bijan Robinson adding to that. But it's tough. It's like at the end of the day, Oklahoma on last Saturday probably had their lowest moment. And we'll probably see a dead cat moment from them, a dead cat bounce where it's like The defense isn't that bad. Maybe it was a look ahead a little bit. It shouldn't have been, but it's a young team. We'll see. I mean, I definitely think Texas is going to win. 9.5 is a lot of points, especially in a shootout, especially when back doors are open. But like I wouldn't fault anybody for taking either side. I took Texas with somebody in a money line parlay earlier in the week when they were at -7. Who did I take? I think I took them with in a game we'll talk about very soon. I think I parlayed Texas and Tennessee, and then Mississippi State and Boise State later in the night.
Okay.
For rushing defense, again, whether they let up a lot versus TCU, Oklahoma's 119th right now.
They suck. And
So
also,
yeah, like Bijan should be able to expose that. It's the only thing. I saw a very interesting stat. Texas's like rushing grade is second in the Big 12, or maybe even first from PFF. But then their rush blocking grade is last. So Texas's offensive line has been not great this year, and it's definitely something that may not be exposed here. But when you play the likes of Baylor and Oklahoma State that have much better defenses, it is a disappointment. And obviously there was some injuries on that offensive line too. So
this game, it's another one of those weird shit happens. It doesn't matter who's ranked where. Obviously that plays into it. But when it comes to Texas OU, every single year, something strange happens.
it's going to be
It's a shootout.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a shootout.
Why is it? It's like a kid that's told that they can't have candy. Because I'm told by the internet you can't call it a shootout. I just want to call it a shootout more.
I don't think a shootout's that bad.
Well,
I mean, I get why they don't want it. I mean, there's things.
It's about a football game. We're not talking about like a child, like a little like ring around the rosy.
I think it's more from a branding perspective. It's easier,
right?
Because you don't want like the Red
the
River
ESPNs
shootout.
are scared.
It's like
you don't want to put it on.
We've had
like
situations
brands.
where we've named Rough and Rowdy stuff, and then there was like Valentine's Day Massacre,
We can't say
and
that.
then there was a situation that happened in Florida, and we had to change it right away because we didn't want it to be like so it's more branding.
That makes sense.
You can call it to me whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a fuck. But I get why the branding you want to get away from it.
Yeah, you don't want to officially name it that. I get that.
But it is the Red River Shootout.
It is, and it
it's gonna
usually
be fun.
is an offensive shootout. And Texas right now they've won 3 since 2010. I believe that it's that OU is 10-3. So OU has had their number for the last decade. And again, this is a rivalry game that these fans hate each other so much that you go into this weekend and you will do anything to win. And so I'm excited about this game. I do, especially if Dylan Gabriel's not playing. I saw
a tweet. I guess Dylan Gabriel was in pads yesterday.
He was in last I officially saw was like a penny jersey.
He was in a penny on Monday, and then
around.
yesterday I guess he was in pads, and today Oklahoma moved their practice inside so nobody could see it.
I love that move. It's so
he's
petty.
probably
I think he may be playing.
Oh boy.
Did he again? I must have missed this, and it might be a dumb question. Did he get knocked out?
No.
Or just
so
he
what
was
happened
still?
was it wasn't head to head. It was shoulder to head. Now, that being said, the concussions are so weird that sometimes you can get legitimately knocked out, and it's better than some weird concussions
like a whiplash thing.
Like a whiplash thing where but he wasn't knocked out. He was just on the ground, I think, dazed. But he was on the ground for a little bit.
Like the wind knocked out of you, kind of.
I think
Not
he probably
actually,
had
but
a concussion. I don't know. It's tough to say.
The sitting at home doctors, it's like the armchair quarterback. It's the armchair concussion protocol experts. And then you've got Joe Burrow coming out this week and saying, well, I've never been diagnosed with a concussion in the NFL, but I've forgotten where I was and I've blacked out in games. Like that's just
probably shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said that. That's not helping the cause. But it is, if it is true, it absolutely should be talked about.
Speaking of things that maybe shouldn't have said, the Najee Harris' Sunday conversation.
Oh no.
Where how Caleb was asking him about getting paid at Bama because he wasn't there for 2 weeks. Like, do you have to give the money back? And he's like, well, I was getting paid. I was like, well, if I had been getting paid, self-corrects halfway through and basically owns up to it.
Well, I love that because it's true. I mean, remember when we did comeback season, Jack, there was the graphic that went viral because Johnny said, he was like, hey, at NCAA, it was straight cash. So you can't do anything about it. I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but he was like, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do about it now? Come back and get it? I love it. I think it's great. But I mean, Najee Harris, it's like, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Take it from his bank account? So one of my favorite things that's happened this year on the College Football Show behind the scenes so far, and I know, Katie, you put it all over social media, was when Dave was stuck in the hurricane. Not that he was stuck in the hurricane because that wasn't good, but was Rico had to step in.
Yeah.
And we have our rowback wardrobe. You know, you have the clothesline when you walk into the studio and we have to pick out a shirt or a quarter zip or a hoodie or whatever. And that Rico loved the one that was meant for me so much that he not only put it on, he quite literally squeezed into it because he loved the navy and the pink rowback so much. But it wasn't his.
Nope.
And then he put on another one that was Dan's. That also was not his. But the point being that rowback has so many great designs and it's so comfortable that Rico had to find a third choice because we had already put our names on one. Because rowback, they're our wardrobe sponsor for the Barstool College Football Show. It is so comfortable. They fit great. And I cannot talk about how much the performance joggers, I mean, I know on the show we're sitting at a desk, so we're obviously wearing the tops. Big Ev wears the hat. The performance joggers are also equally as comfortable.
Everyone says it's so soft, but then like it's like the perfect amount of like stretchy and soft.
Yes.
It's also like a kind of athleisure, but you can wear it just the hoodie by itself.
Yes.
And it's still so sleek and form-fitting.
I will tell you this, my boyfriend steals every single rowback that I bring home. Because right now I'm wearing all the oversized, which oversized is in as it is. I'm also making sure I'm getting oversized because of my body changing the way it is. I will come home and they'll just be disappearing because everybody loves them. They do have the performance polos, but the hoodies and the quarter zips are simply the best. Everything they put out is so comfortable. Not only do we wear them, college athletes across the country are wearing them. Will Anderson, Bijan Robinson, Michael Meyer. I love rowback. Everyone loves rowback. Jack, do you love rowback?
I love rowback, and I even love the offer that they're giving to us. Special
Yes.
offer for the Roughnecks.
Use code RUGH, again, ROUGH, if you don't know how to spell, at rowback.com for a generous 20% off your first purchase. That is spelled RHOBACK.com. 20% off all polos, Q-zips, hoodies, joggers with the code RUGH. Listen, Christmas is coming. It's coming quicker than you expect it to, as it does every single year. There is not somebody in your family that will not enjoy something from Rowback, and we're giving you 20% off. It's so comfortable. We love them on the Barstool College Football Show. We love them on Unnecessary Roughness, and so will you. This game, I'm excited about it. I always am. It's, again, another game where I wish both teams could lose in theory as an Aggie, but it's always a great game. I'm going to take Quinn Ewers in Texas, and, you know, if Brandon was here, he'd probably be wearing a Texas's back shirt despite them not being back, but we'll see. Another big game in that window is Utah, UCLA. Right, that's at 3:30, isn't it? Okay, so what else? So, Arkansas, Mississippi State.
With
Brandon
KJ,
game.
Yeah, I don't think KJ Jefferson is playing.
I think Mississippi State is just going to – KJ Jefferson's not going to play. I really like the under in this game because
59.
You think of obviously Mississippi State throws the ball all over the place. Will Rogers already has 234 passing yards.
Insane.
But Mississippi State takes on average 30 seconds between their plays. So the clock's going to be running. I don't know if Arkansas's offense is going to really do anything to Mississippi State. Mississippi State has a good defense too. I think I could see like a 34-17 final. I really like the under in this situation, and I think State's going to win without a doubt.
It could look pretty similar to last week. I mean, I know the final score was 42-24, but you're right about the defense. For me, Will Rogers is just having a hell of a year, which we know. He's on the because list. I don't think we've done one of those yet, but he had his 13th 300-yard, 3-touchdown game in his career, and I think he's played like 27 total. It's absolutely crazy the numbers he's putting up. But him going against Arkansas's pass rush, because Arkansas's defense, especially the defensive line, has played really well. They've had like 21 sacks this season. So if they can put pressure on Will Rogers, it could get a little interesting. But if KJ Jefferson's not playing, and they already have a very one-dimensional offense, which Sam Pittman said himself, this is not something that we're just saying and throwing shade, it could be a long day for Arkansas. And boy, I just hope Brandon is happy somewhere, because he has also been in the mix with Arkansas, and Arkansas now potentially losing 3 in a row, and he said they were going to lose 4 in a row. This to me screams, especially because it's in Starkville, this to me screams Mississippi State just puts up another one in the SEC West, and Will Rogers just continues to pad those stats because he is so good. And I'm not just saying that because of Brandon. He's really, really good.
Yeah, I think we saw him fall a little bit in the LSU game. but he came back up really quickly.
Yeah, he did. So I'm going to take Mississippi State. I don't ever want to take Arkansas in anything, but another game in the SEC West, which is just an absolute nightmare outside of Alabama. So other noon games.
Tennessee LSU.
Tennessee LSU. I knew I was forgetting a big one. So Tennessee LSU. We talked about LSU on Tuesday, Jack, about how they've lost one game, and it wasn't even in conference, and their fan base, at least from the ones you read on the internet, which I know are not always most rational, they are just not happy about this team. Huge test for them. The by far the biggest game that Brian Kelly's had. I mean, that's not even just like a kind of a hot statement. That's absolutely the truth. Tennessee at number 8 in the country, and Tennessee's offense leads the nation in yards total, I believe, and passing yards passing in a game.
They're also 100% in the red zone.
It's Hendon Hooker and this offense are doing even more than I thought we believed they could, which is crazy because I think a lot of people had them second in the East. But this is a huge game for them to continue to keep pace with Georgia. And LSU, you talk about Mississippi State. LSU has played a lot better since they lost to Florida State, and their defense, especially again that front seven, they're forcing a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, this is a classic. LSU hasn't looked great even in their wins. It's like, we saw last week that win against Auburn was the definition of Jaden Daniels can't really pass the ball. But that being said, going up against,
I still think because they had a comeback, so I think at least they put themselves in that own hole. But I feel that's always impressive when you go down 17-0 and able to come back.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
I still agree. They should have. Auburn is that bad. They should not have been in that hole to begin with.
I don't know if Auburn's that bad. I think Auburn's still probably a top 50 team in the country. So it's on the road, SEC night game, tough environment. That's a big win. But that's the same thing I say about them playing State too. They beat them 31-16. LSU has a pretty good resume right now. It's all on the rushing. Or on the pass. It's all on the rushing, but it should be more on the passing. And Tennessee's biggest weakness is their passing defense. And can Jane Daniels figure this out? Get Keyshawn Butte really in the mix a little bit more. Keyshawn Butte still doesn't have 100 yards receiving on the season.
They're 128th.
Who?
Tennessee.
Yeah, their pass defense is tough.
They're averaging 300, allowing 309 yards a game.
Yeah, no, Tennessee's pass defense is something that's going to be tough. They say they want to beat Bama and stuff. It's it's going to be tough to beat Bama if you're just giving up just massive passing gains to Bryce Young.
Also,
this is a big test for Tennessee. It's on the road. You're 3-point favorites. The sharp play here is LSU. I just think Tennessee's the better team.
I think so too.
But I don't know. At 3:00, could I see this game being LSU wins 31-28? 100%.
It is a weird feeling game because, like you said, LSU's been playing mad. They have been playing better. I can't figure out how I would feel if I was an LSU fan because they were not happy with the opening weekend. But again, they're only 4-1. I just think that Tennessee's offense is just, it's not, I know. They're incredibly explosive.
Yes.
The bigger thing to me, and I know every single week, it's okay, what game are you coming off of? Tennessee had a bye week last week, right? They didn't play anybody. So their last win is Florida. And that was, Hendon Hooker had an absolute day. He probably the best game of his career. Definitely, people were talking about it, his Heisman moment. Then you have a bye week to prepare for LSU. So it's not like they're coming off of the Florida win and then they're going into Baton Rouge having, a normal turnaround. They've had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. And that, to me, if I am a Tennessee fan, gives me a lot more faith just because this team came off of an incredibly emotional rivalry game and then has gotten to calm down. And yes, playing at LSU is never easy, but I think that if you're going to play at LSU, you want to play with 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah, no, and you'd probably prefer to play at noon compared to 8:00. This is a game I wish it was at 8:00, but it is what it is.
Yeah, the SEC primetime game this week is bullshit.
Now, the big thing here is, can Hendon Hooker and Tennessee's offense perform against LSU's defense? If they do that, then they're really legit. I mean, Tennessee right now ranks 3rd in SP Plus offensive ratings. They're only behind Ohio State and Alabama, and they're right there.
They are tied for second in points scored per game. Number 1's Ohio State. Who do you think they're tied? You might know, Jack, because I put this in a group. But Casey, who do you think they're tied with for second?
For points per game?
Yeah.
I feel like it's got to be something crazy.
Who is it?
TCU.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to be like, is it like
Makes sense.
one of Jack's like random like over teams that he loves?
Yeah, but it's not the usual. It's funny to see TCU and Tennessee. We kind of expected to be there, but like seeing TCU and Tennessee up there.
I mean,
above
Max
the other
Duggan
ones.
at TCU is putting up like, I mean, he leads in some categories. But like I said, I mean,
Yeah.
Tennessee's offense is not, again, last time I checked, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're number one in offensive total yards and offensive yards passing. So this game's gonna be great. I'm gonna take Tennessee. Honestly, I know that LSU's ranked number 25 and it is at home. I kind of think the spread is low. I know that the LSU's defense leads the SEC in turnovers, but that's a hell of a game. And I'll tell you what, Big T was gone on Tuesday. Big T was not a part of the Fan Check podcast because he was in Philly for the dozen.
Mm-hmm.
If they win this game, we've got to have a Big T cameo next week.
Yeah, but
Leading
it's
into
tough
Alabama.
because he's only going to have about a week. He won't even be that cocky because he knows Alabama's coming.
That's true.
I don't know. I feel like it's always
But a
like
5-0 Tennessee team against Alabama, especially. And
It's going to be sick.
I need Big T. First of all, I want LSU to lose just because they're in the SEC West. So that's just like my bias right there. But outside of my fandom bias, I think I've been so much higher on Tennessee. But I want to see Big T piss Brandon off. That's what I want. And you know what? I don't even know if he can because Brandon hates Alabama so much. So Brandon will be put in a fucking pickle. Brandon will be in a pickle. He will be in a pickle next week because he hates Alabama. He makes fun of Dylan at Riley Auto Parts or whatever, but he also hates Tennessee fans. But if Tennessee fans are going against Alabama and they're undefeated, it's going to be interesting.
It sucks they don't play this year because that would be a really good game.
Mississippi State, Tennessee.
I'm just going to say it, and this is Brandon not being here. Mississippi State's a really good team. I think they have Georgia next week.
They have, Arkansas. And is it Georgia next week?
Mississippi State, Brandon's going to...
No, they have
Kentucky.
At Kentucky, at Bama.
Yeah, Georgia's
I think
November.
Mississippi State can go into that Bama game on October 22nd at 6-1, and we're going to get cocky, Brandon. And he's going to give us one of those, just watch out.
Brandon being cocky about Mississippi State is not something that we've seen since, week 1 of 2020?
Well, we got
what?
Last year he thought they were getting pretty good then the Egg Bowl silenced them.
But what was it 2020 though, where he had
Yes, they had the amazing first game. They beat LSU.
Yes.
What's his name? I'm blanking on his name. Had the amazing first game.
Is it KJ something?
KJ Costello. He
Yep.
had amazing first game.
Well, he was going to win the Super Bowl. MVP,
623 passing yards.
He was the greatest.
He was the greatest quarterback of all time.
For that
not
one
just
game.
college football.
In the NFL as well.
In the NFL
Yeah. So, and I will say, I love Brandon with all of my heart. Well, some of my heart. I can't give him all of my heart, but you know what I mean. An ego on Brandon Walker if Mississippi State is actually good in the season. Think about how many times he brings up them being ranked number 1 in the country in 2014.
He was saying that they could
we'd have
beat
to live
Georgia.
in. I can't.
He's going to start resurfacing that.
I can't do it.
It's not good. He's going to say they're going to be able to beat Alabama. That Kentucky game is going to be a big one for him.
Yes.
Especially after Georgia struggled against Missouri.
They're going to beat the shit out of Arkansas this weekend. Okay, so back to the slate. So other noon games: Missouri, Florida, Purdue, Maryland, Louisville, Virginia.
I think Virginia +3 is a really good play this weekend if you're looking for anything. It takes a lot of balls to take that, but Louisville is going to be without Malik Cunningham, they looked like they legitimately couldn't move the ball last week against, and nothing. And I think Scott Satterfield may be the next one fired before Brian Harsin. He's like a good
sneaky one because Brian Harsin is just the name because it's Auburn and all the offseason stuff that's happening. We talked about David Shaw too, but you're right. Satterfield is definitely.
And then I really like
there.
EMU plus the points on at noon.
You think even if he loses, no matter how badly, but it's without Malik Cunningham, that'll count?
I think they're almost at. The thing is, he's putting together a pretty good recruiting class right now. But if they lose Boston College and Virginia back-to-back weeks, it's going to be tough. I'm not saying they will, but it may be like we may be firing.
He did a pretty good job, at least I guess I thought, cooling off his hot seat. Because last year, the end of it, with what was his line about the airport? He's like, he liked Louisville because it was so close to that.
Yeah.
He did okay, and then
Shouldn't have been saying shit like that.
it's coming
You know, what
all
can you
right
do?
back up.
Okay, so in the Jack, do you have any? You're our betting guy here. Do you have anything before the 3:30 slate? So we've got Akron, Ohio, Georgia Southern,
No,
Georgia
but
State.
I've given out 2 plays of the podcast back to back. Last week I gave out Rutgers. Brandon rolled his eyes.
He
the
did.
week before,
you're
the Fordham, Ohio. I'll never have another one like that.
You
but
might.
My play this week, I think, is
Is it Virginia?
no. You know what? I kind of like one at 3:30. Then
Okay,
I may
so-
make the play of the podcast.
All right, so
From the
so-
noon slate, I like the Michigan Indiana first half under 30.5.
They had-
Michigan does not get off the mat quick.
Well, and it's that game just screams to me. No one cares by halftime.
Yeah.
3:30. We have Auburn, Georgia. So obviously, I think we all.
I think this is kind of a big game for Georgia.
I think
man.
so too. I think it's huge.
If they struggle 3 in a row,
I know that's the thing. Yeah, it's
It's
I'm looking at that
sneaky.
Auburn plus 30 number. Like I think I may have to
Plus
take
30.
it.
I mean, think about.
Auburn's not that bad. I get they're bad, but they're not that
it's,
bad.
to
it's
be-
like a chaotic mess. Like they work somehow.
For
but-
it to be a 30-point spread against Auburn, like you're talking about like 2 SEC teams. I mean, Auburn they won a
No, it's
national
just
title. Like this
embarrassing to
is
Auburn.
humiliating, which tells me, and
That's a Vandy spread.
I don't. Right, and sometimes I think Vandy spreads might be less. They might be like 28. You know,
know.
I mean, it's crazy to think. Georgia, what they did against Missouri, I don't think you can throw completely out the window, but I do think that that was an aberration from a standpoint of like, they're not, if they are the team we think they are, which I do, they're not going to be in the mix with teams down to, the last 5 minutes like they were. But a 30-point spread is huge for an SEC game outside of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, no, this is, and we were talking about. It's funny we're saying this is a big game for Georgia. It's a 30-point spread because if they struggle again, then it's like, man, like you guys have some real games coming up. They have Tennessee coming up. They have Mississippi State coming up. They have some games that it's like. Even Kentucky, if you show up like you did against Mizzou against Kentucky,
you
like
can't.
you
lose.
You'll lose.
You lose.
Wow. On the Barstool Sportsbook, the team total for Auburn is 9.5.
Yeah, that's yeah. No,
I mean,
yeah.
listen, Auburn is bad. Now they are
And
Auburn.
They have some. I guess some really key injuries recently. It's tough. They lost their best edge rusher.
But they still have Tank Bigsby. They still have it's Auburn. They have
No,
talented
they have
guys.
talent. Yeah.
So here's my question. So obviously you look at the point spread, which outside of a Vandy spread, I would be curious to see the last time a school like Auburn has been a 30-point dog. That is wild to me. But let's look at the Auburn side of things. So, Brian Harsin, again, we keep bringing him up. Like, it's almost like the more we say it, the less he gets fired. So we just have to keep talking about it. If they do lose this game in embarrassing fashion, which Vegas is predicting, does he get fired? Or is it, no, it's the number 2 team in the country. It's Georgia. We'll give it to you next week.
I think he has to put up a little bit of a fight here.
If they just lay down?
If they lose by 30, but it's 24-10 in the third, they lose 38-10. I don't think he'll get fired. It's gonna happen one of these days, and we're gonna be like, all right, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. Finally.
It's not even gonna be like when Paul Chryst got fired. We were like, oh my god.
Yeah.
When Harsin gets fired, we're gonna be like, there it is.
Yeah, it just happened.
Going back to at least the 1990s, this is the biggest
Yeah.
point spread for Auburn.
I mean, yeah, that would
Yeah,
make sense.
no,
This is
100%.
crazy. So, kind of a low key, especially from a gambling
Minus
standpoint.
Alabama.
Well,
Because I see Alabama. They're 34-point dogs in 2012. So minus
Still.
Alabama.
They were
still,
so bad in 2012, but
Oh.
then they made the national championship in 2013.
Right,
That's just so Auburn though. That's Auburn's just like they're a witchcraft school. Like they just
Alabama
they
is
go
too. They have the
they're-
witchcraft
They're like
doctor.
5-4-8 in a year, and then they get Cam Newton, and they're the best team ever. Then they go 5-7, and then they're in the national championship against Jameis Winston. And if Jameis Winston doesn't go down the field on an amazing last-minute drive and throw it to Kelvin Benjamin, they win their second national championship in 4 years. Like Auburn,
And Gene Chizik.
it's just
Yeah.
crazy. I mean,
Here-
that was Gus Malzahn in 2013 because Gene was fired. They fired him the next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
1 year after he won the national title. They were like, get the fuck out. Can you imagine winning a national title within, they won in 2011?
No, 2009, right?
2009? God, what? I feel like I'm so old. So Yeah, that was Cam Newton's year. So 2009, they were in the national championship in 2013. So they've been in the national championship in the last 10 years, and they're 30-point underdogs.
No.
That's crazy.
This is not Auburn football. Like, they should not. This is bad.
So, yeah, so they...
Auburn fans are down
2010
tremendous.
is when they won. Yeah, this is... Yeah, just absolutely down bad. Huge game from a gambling standpoint. But obviously, I think, we believe Georgia's going to win. Another 3:30 game that we are looking at. Oh, I brought it up. Utah, UCLA. Utah 11th
Big
in the
game.
country. UCLA 18th. Huge. And Utah having that week 1 loss to Florida. I think we, as a collective college football world, kind of... I don't want to say buried Utah completely because that game was weird, but since playing Florida, they've obviously bounced back. They lead the conference in total defense. Utah's defense is unbelievable. We love Cam Rising. And then you look at UCLA. You talk about 5-0 teams. This is huge. They had the big win against Washington last week. I look at this game and I say, okay, Utah, their defense is really good. They obviously have a great quarterback. And then UCLA, can they put together back-to-back weeks against really good teams? Because Washington was playing really well. Utah is obviously the 11th team in the country, is kind of the cream of the crop outside of USC for the Pac-12. I just don't think UCLA has the talent to beat them. I know they have a great running game. I mean, Zach Charbonnet is incredible. But I just think that this Utah team has way too much power. I could be wrong, but I do.
Interesting. So the last 5 times these teams have met, Utah is 5-0 against the spread, and they beat the spread, not just win by. They cover by an average of 19.1 points a game
against
which
UCLA.
Is wild.
Yeah, they've been killing UCLA.
I do like the combination of DTR and Zach Charbonnet. I think are probably one of my favorite running backs.
They have a good offense.
Then that wide receiver / tight end that they have is like 6'4", 6'5". He's
huge.
Bobo?
He's a
Bobo. Yeah, he's fucking amazing.
Gigantic human being.
Jake Bobo. He's awesome, dude.
He has good hair.
Yeah, no, he like has the LA vibe.
Yeah, he does. He's got.
Look at him.
I mean, look at that guy. That guy's so LA.
Fuck, he's from North Andover, Mass. Where'd he go to school? I bet he went to school at Exeter.
Weird. He does not scream Massachusetts to me.
Jake Bobo.
Yeah, he was from Duke. He transferred from Duke.
He did come from Duke.
But he doesn't that guy. If you were to show me a photo, I think that I would have said he was a masshole. Maybe like the last 5
I'm gonna guess
years.
that he went to Exeter. That's my guess. I'm looking up his high school right now. He went to Belmont Hill.
Does he look like he went to Belmont Hill?
Yeah, he fits the Belmont Hill vibe.
I mean, look at that guy is so UCLA it hurts. He should be in a hot tub like the Matt Leinart photo. Like that's the way. He's a UCLA USC vibe kind of guy.
But he's turned it around this year.
Bobo is a great name too.
There's Jake. Belmont Hill School. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely. You're right. He does fit that.
Belmont Hill always has really good athletics.
So. This game is gigantic for not only the Pac-12, but for kind of just the, where everybody's talking about the USC-Utah game has the potential, the college football playoff landscape. UCLA, again, quietly, I think a lot of people are now paying a lot more attention, but quietly putting together an undefeated season and beating Washington was a huge step in that. Utah's defense is just... It's too good for me for when it comes to this game. And I know DTR and Zach Charbonnet and Bobo have put together a great season. I think that this is the kind of I don't want to say wake-up call for UCLA because I don't think they're going to get their doors blown out. But I do think that Utah is the better team. And I think that Utah losing to Florida is something that by the end of the season, nobody's going to care about.
Yeah, no, this is a great offensive matchup. I think 3.5 is too much for UCLA at home. Last week, they really showed up, and I think DTR's biggest issue was turnovers, and he's not turning the ball over anymore. No. I'm really excited for this one. It's a great 3:30 game, and it's one that I'm really looking forward to. Cam Rising's, he has 13 touchdowns now. I mean, he's so amazing. Good. Man, this also game would be so amazing. This game would be like the Pac-12 would be something if Utah just didn't blow that game against Florida.
I know.
It still is something, but this is like, man. And also, Utah last week destroyed a Oregon State team.
Destroyed them. And, we
had a pretty good one, too. Like, Oregon State took USC to the wire.
Right. And when you look at the USC Oregon State game, like that was like everyone had their kind of eye on that as like, could this be a slip up game for USC? And it was close. But again, that's why I say I do not think that the Florida game is going to matter one iota when it comes down to Utah's season. And I know because it's cross conference, that in general, if you go undefeated in the Pac-12, it's not going to matter. But that game still, to me, it's already so far in the past. Like this Utah team looks completely different. Massive game for the Pac-12. And I know we'll talk about USC in a little bit. But, I mean, 2 top 20 teams playing. The Pac-12 is so much more fun to watch this year. It's crazy. I know in the history of this podcast, especially in 2020.
No, it's the best Pac-12's been in a while.
Well, because we made fun of the Pac-12 a lot because, like they almost
USC
didn't play. But, I mean, this year, the Pac-12 is...
It's the 2 LA teams because they're actually good.
Yeah.
In the history of this podcast, the LA teams have not been good.
And you know what's sad for them?
Tell me.
They're going to be the Big Ten soon.
I know, it's weird.
Not sad for the schools, sad for the Pac-12.
No,
we're loving
it's
the
weird.
Pac-12 this year, and the 2 schools that we're loving the most...
Pac-12 and Big 12 are going to be weird.
They're just heading on over to the Big Ten.
Yeah, no, it's college
R.I.P.
football is about to get weird.
R.I.P. Okay, so more 3:30 games. We'll go through them quicker. So we've got Liberty, UMass. Jack, stop me when you've got your play.
Okay, Liberty, UMass
Is that
is
your
a
play?
game I don't think it's going to. I think my official play of the podcast, that's 2-0 so far, is going to be under in Arkansas, Mississippi State. But I really like UMass here.
Okay.
In a game at home. Also, this is kind of funny. This is UMass is having their Pride game as for their it's the Pride game. It's like promotional, which is cool. But
like their gay pride?
Yeah, it's like a gay pride.
Okay, when you said that, I was like, I didn't know if you meant like UMass Pride, and I was like, am I about to sound insensitive by saying why does UMass have a UMass Pride Day?
No, it's like and I think their helmets will have like their UMass, the U, and
Okay.
the UM will have like the flag in it, and it's just. I don't think it was a coincidence that it's against Liberty.
Oh, it's 100% planned. It's
I
awesome.
wouldn't have even thought about that.
So
You're right.
I think the
You're
Pride
right.
play here is plus
Pride
24
play.
and a half. I'm gonna give it to. I think Joey and Pat should have a promo there, and I'm gonna pitch it to them after this podcast. But I do like UMass plus
love
24 and a half. They've been playing better, and the thing is with this team, Don Brown. All Don Brown wants to do is play good defense and run the ball. And that's what he's been doing. And they're going to make this game short. And I don't think they're going to win, but I think you could see like a 17-10 game. And Liberty's down to their third string quarterback.
Yeah.
Caden Salter and Charlie Brewer are hurt. I don't even know who the third string is. Give me UMass plus the points all day.
Pride play.
And
What's the
Pride
spread?
play.
I love a Pride play. And you know what's like, again, I'm sure the Liberty student body is very progressive, but there's going to be like
24.
some old Liberty fans that are
I don't
pearl
know.
clutching.
I don't know if the Liberty student
They're
body
not.
is progressive.
I just assume that anybody
It's an
from between
evangelical school.
I know, but I assume like kids 18 to 22 are just progressive these days. I sound old as fuck when I said that. I realize how
No,
old
I
I
know
when
what
it
you're
came
saying.
out of my mouth just now, I sounded old as fuck.
I'm sure they're more progressive, but
I love the Pride play.
it's the Pride play.
The Pride play.
There's a great game at 4:00.
Oh, well, we'll get to the 4 o'clock. So we've got Wisconsin, Northwestern, Virginia Tech, Pitt, East Carolina. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like...
It's a weird slate.
It's a weird slate. It's so stacked at 12. Okay, so Ohio State, Michigan State at 4.
I mean,
that
I
the
think
game you were
Ohio
talking about?
State, this is the game where, like, if you want to take C.J. Stroud to win Heisman, take it now, because I think he's going to have, like, a 6-touchdown game.
Jack, you know what is so crazy looking at
Michael
it from...
Penix looked like Joe Burrow. I mean, he's good, but he looked like Joe Burrow against the secondary.
Michigan State is a 27-point dog in this game. First of all, that's even crazier to look back at the Auburn-Georgia. Like, that Vegas thinks that Auburn is going to beat by Georgia worse than Michigan State. That's crazy. Michigan State, if you get embarrassed, which you will, I believe, I think we all believe, embarrassed by Ohio State, you better not have a peep to say on social media towards Jack McGuire. A peep.
I don't. This is like, I don't even think they even care about this game because they know it's about to be bad.
Do they, though? I mean, I know they know they're going to lose.
This could be one of those where it's like, you know it because of the Texas A&M screen grab 77-0.
Yes.
I think we may get one here. If I could get one of the scoreboard next to Tuck and it's like 52-3.
Jack Mack would be coming.
Yeah, Jack Mack will be coming. I'm excited for this game. I took Ohio State at minus 24.5. Now it's up to 27. I think it could get up above 28. before the game kicks off. Another 3:30 game I really like. I like Vanderbilt plus 17 against Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, so those are both at 4, which again, 4 o'clock is weird.
But
Ole Miss. Brandon says he believes they're a fraud top 10 team. I understand why he's saying that. However,
we're not going to see it this week.
No, I think. I mean, again, the fact that the spread's only 17 is. I wish I could just be a fly on the wall in Vegas when they decide these things. I think that they're going to keep the shit out of Vanderbilt, and Ole Miss will stay. Can you pull up Ole Miss's schedule? So they'll beat the shit out of Vandy, and then they have Auburn. Okay, so then we'll be in Baton Rouge when they play LSU. So October 22nd, the Barstool College Football Show will be there.
I'm so excited for that.
They could be undefeated going into that game easily. I mean, easily.
Oh, no, they should be.
They should be. If they're not, I would be surprised. I mean, they're not going to lose to
that
Vandy.
game's going to be so massive.
It's going to be huge. But
it better be a night game, right?
It also depends on what happens with LSU and what other games.
What are the other SEC games that week?
That's the issue. Because you would think that
would be
it would
week 8 if you want to go to the
week
schedule.
8.
Okay, we're doing now.
Yeah, if you could go look at that.
Yeah.
Because it would be if CBS wants it, or if it's not, then it could be a 7 o'clock.
I bet it's 3:30.
I bet
it's CBS.
I bet CBS takes it.
Because
so
CBS also flexed their night game this upcoming weekend, which is the bane of my existence. But
no, it's Mississippi State, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Texas A&M, South Carolina.
Theoretically,
that's gonna be the best game.
So they'll be 3:30.
Theoretically, CBS may take Mississippi State, Alabama, and then ESPN takes LSU, Ole Miss, and they play at 7:30. I don't know.
Yeah, if Mississippi State only has the loss to LSU and they're playing Alabama, who will be number 1, you're right. But I think, this weekend for Ole Miss, what did you say? What play did you like in this game?
Vanderbilt
plus
Vandy.
The points. Yeah.
Why?
I think it's a big letdown spot for Ole Miss, and I think Vanderbilt's a team they're not bad. I think 17 points is something that they'll find a way to cover, especially in the end. I think Ole Miss's offense is not as great as I really thought it was going to be. The defense is a lot better. But all that being said, I don't love it. It's not like my favorite play of the weekend, but I will be on Vanderbilt, especially if I can get Vanderbilt plus 17.5. But I think the line's been dropping a little bit.
Yeah,
so it's going to be an interesting game.
I think Ole Miss is, you're probably right about that, especially because of how emotional it is. But, again, it's Vanderbilt. All right, let's quickly go through the rest of the games. So we've got Washington, Arizona State, North Carolina, Miami.
That's going to be interesting. Is it bad? I'm more interested to see what Tyler Van Dyke looks like.
No, it's not bad.
Yeah, well,
I don't like this. This is a what is Miami game? I think
they stink.
Are they the Middle Tennessee? Was that a fluke, or will they put up a fight?
No,
I
stink.
I do think that too, but I also think our defense stinks.
You can say it.
And if you're gonna bet the under in this game, you're a moron.
You're a fan that's
over
upset.
Here is
but
it seems like too easy.
I haven't looked enough to sit officially. I haven't got the point of betting the over, but I don't think you should ever bet the under with North Carolina.
Well, and obviously, the
66. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, this game, Miami's just. I'll never forgive Miami for being so bad. I really thought they were going to be good.
But they could still turn it around, though. Obviously losing the Middle Tennessee is unacceptable, but you have a bye week, and now you're back at home against UNC, ACC game.
They
haven't lost any ACC games this year.
But
they could really turn it around. It's like they do have the talent to.
Have they not played a conference game yet? I didn't think so.
So,
but this is what it goes back to, and I did not disagree with what Tyler Van Dyke said whatsoever about playing home games. But after they lost like they did, and then now you've got North Carolina, who I understand, Katie, was kind of an aberration when they were undefeated, and their defense with Gene Chizik is god awful.
Yep.
Still 4-1. Miami. How do you get excited if you're Miami?
How do you get excited? I think
the pool party
how I
after
just
the
told
game.
you. First ACC game, new season. We went 2-2. It's not how we wanted to go. Let's
bitter.
go back. We're playing on ESPN2.
I'm bitter because I loved Tyler Van Dyke. I loved Miami. I put my
Barstool athlete.
we still love him. Then we always love our Barstool athletes.
Maybe you can turn it around, but Hopefully it's a shootout. I think I'll take the over.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I might add it to my card.
Yep, add it. We love a good shootout on this podcast. Okay, so let's go down to the night slate. So
UConn FIU. Feel like UConn will win that.
Yes,
Oh,
they
shout out
should.
UConn.
7 p.m. UConn FIU. That's a big game because they get that they hit their win total over.
Big.
FIU is the worst team in the FBS. UConn has to win this.
I faded them
see.
last week.
I mean,
New Mexico,
yeah, they
I think,
ended
is
up
even
beating
worse.
New Mexico State, and
Gross.
that FIU New Mexico State Hawaii threesome is not good.
No.
Now UConn was supposed to be in that, but I think UConn's elevated themselves a little bit. So if they win this one, I'm really, really like feeling good about them in the future.
we should all wear our UConn football gear. that we
Yes,
got.
shout out to UConn Huskies.
So
There's your 1 minute on UConn.
Yep, love that. Have to have it. So Clemson, Boston College
Red
is the
bandana
7:30 game. The spread is 20.5 right now. So again, it just continues to prove how much better the morning slate is here. Boston College 2-3, 1-2 in the conference, let down for sure. I think Jack, you and Brandon both were high on Boston College. Clemson is really, really good. And Jack, you're a DJ Uiagalelei guy. We know that. This game, I mean, the fact that it's a 7:30 game is sad.
I just don't know, like, 48's just, like, looking at me. Like, how does this not get to 48.5 points? Boston College was just in a game last week where there was, like, 75 points scored. Can Boston College get us 14 points? If Boston College gets us 14
in garbage time for sure.
Because they have Zay Flowers. Phil
Yeah.
Cherkovich can throw it. I think the over is a decent play here, but do I think Boston College can stay within the number? Not really.
No, I don't either.
But
On the sports book, their team total is 13.5.
can
Yeah.
they get us to 17 points? That's the key. If they can, I think Clemson can get us to 38, 45.
I agree, especially if they get out early. And this is, that we've said this every week for the last few, is that, DJ is playing with this insane confidence. This is another game where he gets to build on that because it is Boston College. They are underperforming for this season. And then, of course, Clemson's defense is really good. However, if Clemson gets out to a heavy lead, which I think they could, they take their starters out. I think that Boston College could put some points up at the end of the game.
Yeah, and I think DJ in this offense could score some points
Absolutely.
on Boston College. 'Cause
Absolutely.
It's just, are we going to see the anemic Boston College offense? We'll see, but I think they'll be able to do it. So if
I think
I
it'll be
like
anemic
anything
at
in this
first.
play, I like the over.
Yeah.
48.5. I think we could get 55, even 60. 45-21 finally. Tell me you can't see that.
I can see it, definitely. I think that the next game, Washington State USC. Now I know that Washington State they played Oregon close until the collapse in the fourth quarter. I don't remember what the final of that was, but it was that game itself was what was that score?
44-41, but remember they were up
Yes.
like 37-23.
They had the absolute collapse.
Then they went down 41 or 44. They went down 44
Sorry.
34 and then
Yeah,
they
it was a
scored a
collapse.
touchdown with like 0
I mean,
seconds on
Oregon
the clock.
scored 29 points in the fourth quarter. So you look at Washington State, and what's weird to me, we obviously talked about the Utah UCLA game, which is the biggest game in the Pac-12, but this game itself is not getting the buzz I feel like that it should, because I know Washington State has lost, but like you just mentioned, it was in a really
It's
weird
just
close
tough
game.
It's tough to buzz Wazoo. It always is.
But but they're sneaky good.
They're sneaky good, but I think USC. This is one of those.
Put your nuts on the table game.
I think this is I faded USC a lot this season. Like last weekend, I took Arizona State. The weekend before Oregon State, but I think this is one where USC comes back and it's just like, hey, when we want, we can score 52 points.
Yeah. So obviously Caleb Williams and this offense is out of control. To me, it's which defense shows up, because Cam Ward, he'll test that secondary, especially if the secondary doesn't play well. But yeah, I mean, Washington,
this USC defense is suspect.
They are suspect, and it's been up and down. I mean, you know how I feel about USC. This game to me, because it is Wazoo, this is a gigantic game for USC.
No, yeah, this is a big, where are you?
Where are you? Yeah, can Cam Ward dice up your secondary, or can your defense step it up?
100, where are you, USC? And I think they're a team that's going to continue to improve throughout the season, but they should be happy that they're playing Wazoo now and not Utah now.
Right, exactly. All right, and then of course there's the CBS night game.
Yes.
I also
that
like
would
how
be-
the BYU Notre Dame is just
it's on
meh.
Peacock.
I know it's all on Peacock, but just meh.
Right.
It's also
I
on
just-
NBC.
Meh.
Oh, it's on NBC and Peacock.
Peacock, yeah.
I didn't know if
Or
NBC
maybe this is the Peacock game.
I feel like this is the Peacock game,
If it may be.
which is sad because BYU is 16th in the country.
This is a game. I think Notre Dame's going to beat them pretty handily.
This again shows you kind of where Notre Dame is from, and I know that they have all the NBC rights, and it's not even about where they're playing. It's just like this game should be one of the best games of the day, but Notre Dame has just taken.
But I think this is a game. If Notre Dame wins handedly, we're like, okay, now Notre Dame is kind of like you're a decent team. We're not saying they're anything from a national perspective, but if Notre Dame wins this game,
It's a respect game, definitely. Like it's the
they have to. I think this is a game you really have to win if you're Notre Dame.
yes, you
But
and
then
I mean,
they have Stanford, UNLV, and then Syracuse in the Dome.
I'm excited for the Syracuse game.
If the
Syracuse
Notre Dame
keeps it up.
Syracuse game could be, I mean, I think that's after Syracuse plays NC State and Clemson.
Yes.
But that will still be a big game for Syracuse. But then it's like Notre Dame has Clemson at home on November 5th. At that point, we may be looking at Notre Dame like, hey, they may be able to catch Clemson. I'm not saying they will, but if they win this one, they'll be on a 4 to 5 game winning streak
Yeah.
going into that Clemson game. And we'll be like, wait a second, we have to keep an eye out. And that's like, we think of these teams like, oh, the Marshall loss is what Notre Dame's going to be all season. But it turns out these teams, like, they evolve. It's a first-year head coach.
And he's a Catholic
They were
now.
probably, yeah, he's a Catholic now, and he was probably, they played their worst game. Mm-hmm. And now, maybe we'll see. But I like Notre Dame in the spot, regardless of if it's on NBC or Peacock.
yeah, definitely. I mean, that was more of just like a
Yeah, no,
LOL.
yeah.
That's funny. What time does Syracuse play?
I don't think Syracuse plays this
Or they have a
weekend.
bye week, don't they?
Yeah.
Syracuse fans are. I mean, as well they should be. They are
I
excited.
think Syracuse has NC State next week.
They do have, and then Clemson. Yeah, you're right. So
And then Notre Dame. They have a tough bookend of their schedule.
So we have Kansas State, Iowa State. We have Iowa, Illinois, which we do talk to Chase Brown about in just a second whenever you hear that. We've got Florida State, NC State.
You skip one.
Yeah, okay. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off again. A&M playing Alabama. Obviously, A&M coming into it with, just battered from the Mississippi State game. They did beat Alabama last year. I realize that. So Katie showed us at the beginning of the podcast, the breaking news is Max Johnson will potentially not be playing.
I think it's as I've seen it, it's a definitely.
Okay, so hear me out. Why not start the freshman? Why not start Connor Wegman? And I know that there's all the red shirt rules and you might want to keep him. You've got Haynes King. We've seen what Haynes King can do. He goes in against Mississippi State, makes a couple plays, and then makes some boneheaded plays like he has. A&M is 3-2, 1-1 in the conference. So not where they thought they would be, not a completely lost season yet. But you're going against Alabama, and I don't think we know if Bryce Young's going to play yet or not. I think that's still
It's seeming
not
like
that Nick Saban would tell us anyways.
It seems like it's trending towards he is. Like I said this to Travi earlier that I think that line before the Max Johnson that Vegas thought that Max Johnson would not play and Bryce Young would.
So where I stand from an A&M standpoint, from an Aggie standpoint, is am I going to go into Saturday and just immediately say, like, I'm not even going to watch this? Absolutely not. A&M plays these weird games sometimes. We saw it last year with Zach Calzada, who isn't, I mean, what's he even doing right now? I mean, I know that
his surgery somewhere for Auburn.
Yeah, like so weird things happen. However, this is a game that Nick Saban, I don't care how or who or when, he is going to want to beat the shit out of this team. That's just a fact. I know he says he doesn't care about the offseason stuff. He might not. But with all the media attention going into this game, with everything that happened last year, their only regular season loss, Nick Saban is going to want to bury this team. Now, do I think that A&M will lay down and take that? No, I do not. However, this is not last year's Alabama playing A&M. This is not the same team that either one of them are. If Connor Wegman comes in and is the next showing of Jesus Christ, maybe. We've seen freshmen at A&M beat Alabama before. I do not believe Connor Wegman is Johnny Manziel. And I am sad that this game is at 8 p.m. I'm sad.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sad.
more I think about it, I think this is just a railroad that's just going through.
Has
Texas
Saban
A&M.
ever been more mad or wanted to kill a team more than this? Mine is
Yes.
maybe a playoff.
Yes.
No, LSU. He hated
Yeah,
LSU.
he
Fair.
hates teams. I think
What LSU did.
But, like this specific team, this personally coming
No,
off
the
the loss.
LSU team that celebrated on the field and then won the national championship in 2019. I think Nick Saban hates Coach O.
this with Jimbo.
I think he thinks he's a fraud, and
Yeah.
I think he exposed them his last 2 times, and then he's just like he's done with them. I wouldn't be surprised behind closed doors if Nick Saban despises Coach O, and the fact that he beat him on his own field like drives him nuts.
Yeah.
I don't think him losing last year, I think, is one of those hey, we got caught.
He also
Jimbo beat me.
It wasn't like they ended the season; they still made it the national champions.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this is what I think, and again, we don't know because he would never tell anybody anyways. I think he hates being asked about this game and asked about Jimbo Fisher more than he actually hates Jimbo Fisher and A&M. I think that he hates answering these questions. So again, whatever, 8 p.m. CBS primetime game. If we're sitting there on Saturday night and A&M has gotten the shit kicked out of him, would I be surprised? Absolutely not. If A&M does something to get my heart and blood pressure up and I'm just excited, also would not be surprised. I think Alabama is probably the safe play here. Any other games after that are...
The night Pac-12 slate is weird. Like Oregon State, I like Stanford in that one, but it's not a great game. It's Oregon at Arizona. I think that's actually a low-key, a fun game to watch. Bo Nix, the Bo Nix renaissance that we've seen this year.
Love a good
I'm just
Bo
gonna
Nix
I'm
renaissance.
going to pull up his stats. He is something this year. The Bo Nix renaissance is something you have to talk to your kids about right now. Talk to your kids. If you have kids, talk to them. He's already thrown for the most never mind. He's already thrown for 12 touchdowns for Oregon, which the most touchdowns he's ever thrown for in a year is 16. He's already done that. He's already at 12. He's thrown for 1,200 yards. His quarterback rating's up in the 150s. His rushing is also phenomenal. He ran for 141 yards against Stanford last week. He has 5 touchdowns on the ground. So we're seeing 17 total touchdowns from Bo Nix. This Oregon offense is buzzing. I think Oregon's a team that I'm pulling up their schedule right now. We got to keep an eye on, specifically once they come down the stretch.
Well,
I'm pulling it up right now.
And like I said, Jack, on Tuesday.
UCLA is going through a hell of a stretch.
Yeah,
but UCLA, they play Arizona this week, then UCLA. They have a bye week, then they play UCLA. They don't play USC in season, but they can potentially play them in the in the Pac-12 championship. They have Utah on November 19th. This is an Oregon team that may be going into a game against Utah at home, and they're 9-1. That's going to be, talk about the fun Pac-12. That's going to be fun. So shout out to Bo Nix. The Bo Nix renaissance is real, folks.
And I said this on Tuesday when we were giving out fan bases, like the hope that they have despite getting their doors blown off to Georgia. Again, it was like, well, they lost 49-3 against the national title or the national champions. But yeah, Bo Nix, put some respect on his name. And I'm saying that to myself, Jack. I need to put some respect on Bo Nix's name.
If you guys don't put Bo Nix respect on his name, I'm going to be mad at you guys. So mad. The Bo Nix renaissance is real. Look at the stats, Katie's stats. Look at them.
Look at the stats.
His QBR's 12th in the country. He is legit. Shout out Bo Nix. He never gave up.
Yes, correct. But I feel like almost every weekend I'm quote tweeting a pick 6 of his. Yes, he will win games.
He can't be perfect.
No.
I'm saying all that because I have been very low on Bo Nix. I'm just trying to put some respect on his name.
He's only thrown 3 interceptions this year.
Which I think is pretty... obviously early season, but I think records right now is 4.
I will be one of the first to admit, Jack, I like to make fun of Bo Nix.
He only threw for 3 interceptions last year.
You know what I realized? That it's not Bo Nix's fault that Auburn fans gave him the nickname early on. The legend of Bo Nix, he didn't call himself that. I should put some respect on his name.
His QBR's 12th. This is a guy that...
We love Bo Nix now?
Bo Nix,
I don't love
if
him,
you
but
guys don't put some respect on him,
I am putting respect on Bo Nix's name. For now. It is a pending respect. Florida State, NC State. Also, see what happens with Florida State. Can they bounce
That's a
back?
decent game.
It is a decent game. But it's on ES. No, wait. It's
ACC
on
Network.
ACC Network. Okay. And yeah, so that's the slate. We will be streaming at some point on Saturday. Dave will be in the building, so I can only imagine. I'm wondering what kind of college football play he's going to give. Anything else?
I'm trying to think what his mortal was.
On Pick'em.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll hear all about it on the College Football Show tomorrow again. So now coming up is the Chase Brown interview. We teased it at the beginning.
Yes.
Loved talking to him, again, leading the country in rushing yards, the Illinois running back. So we appreciated his time, and we hope you enjoy the interview.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy.
And now we're going to get to the interview with Chase Brown. Chase, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Pleasure being with you guys today.
We're happy to have you. I mean, Jack and I have been talking about, we haven't had any player interviews this season, and to start with the leading rusher in the country is pretty special. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, it's really cool. Definitely sounds good when I hear it from other people. But,
I'm sure it does.
I'm kind of just taking it week by week right now. And, at the end of every single week, get a look back and see where that is. But, my focus isn't, rushing yards. It's trying to win games for this team. And let's go back to the rushing yards for a second. The O-line's doing a great job to, open up run lanes. And, overall, completely, happy with the way things are going right now.
No, yeah. I was actually reading up on you a little bit, and you say that a big part of how well you've been playing this year and last year as well is you've been doing a lot of visualization. And I was wondering how much film goes into each week. How much film are you watching? I know some running backs would just kind of just go with the flow, maybe not watch a lot of film, but from what I've been reading, seems like you like to watch the film and then envision the holes that you're going to run through in the games.
No doubt. I don't overwhelm myself, but I do put in a good amount of preparation each week. And I spend more time trying to recognize blitzes and, watch, certain players like habits and techniques than, visualizing runs. But, I'll start off every single week watching, this week we're playing Iowa. So I start off with the Michigan game. That's their most recent one. And, seeing what their offense did to create running lanes and what that running back did to set up himself for success. So
You talk about the game coming up this weekend. We have an Illinois fan that we work with in the office. His name is Chuck, and Chuck just had me in the kitchen talking about how this game for you guys in the upcoming weekend is one of the biggest ones he's seen. He said since 2011. So obviously you haven't been there since 2011, but for him, he's saying the buzz around this and the fact that you guys dropped a game that you shouldn't have early in the season, he is stoked about it. Do you get that same feeling in the locker room?
Well, yeah, but we're a good football team. Last week we played Wisconsin, and I'm going to give them everything. They're a great team, great defense, but we won that game single-handedly. Not single-handed, but we took care of business, and I don't think that game was like an upset in any way. We went out there, we prepared to win, and we did what we expected to do, and that's the same for this week as well. You hear a lot of buzz about this being the biggest game since 2011, and I've seen that on Twitter quite a bit. But we're just taking this week no different than any other week, and same mindsets, similar preparation, and we're ready to get out there and play.
Jack, we can tell him they beat Wisconsin's ass.
I mean,
so he's very humble. We can say
you got a coach fired.
We can brag on you for that. I know you have to give us the right answers, but we can say, you got a coach fired.
I'm just trying to,
No.
Let us do it for you, Chase. We got it.
Obviously, they're coaching them up well at Illinois.
Yes.
On the media side, your twin brother's on the defense, and he went to Illinois first. You came over after you transferred from Western Michigan. Was he a big factor in that transfer, or was just okay?
Yeah. So I went to Western Michigan because I want to be a pilot. And
okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I would have hung up the shoes. I would have put away the helmet to be a pilot. My host dad was a pilot, and I thought he was a rock star. So
that's amazing.
I want to be just like him. And, he was doing private flights for clients on in the middle of the day, and he might be gone for a day or two. But I knew he was making a ton of money from that. So I said, like,
I
you
can
know what? Like,
imagine.
if he can just fly planes and
Is the
do one
host
day
dad?
one day he's in Florida, next day he's in the Bahamas, and then he's back in Florida late in the week. Like, I think that's awesome. So I want to do that. And you know what? It just didn't work out. Like the NCAA doesn't allow uh, their scholarships don't cover flight fees, so like plane rental, I don't know, gas, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like
Yeah.
that. So they'll pay for stuff that's in class. Um, so I thought, like, why would I? If my main purpose of going to Western Michigan was to do the flight program, then I don't really want to be here if I can't do it. So I ended up transferring after the season and received a couple offers. But I mean, when Illinois called, my brother was there. My family could travel down from Canada to one place instead of two, and it was just a no brainer, and it was the best decision I made.
So I talked to Coach Bielema a little bit about you because I wanted to get some inside information, and he told me that
Yeah.
one of his rules as a head coach is that you guys cannot compete against each other, you and your twin brother, because you might try to kill each other. Is that true?
We've got pretty feisty a couple of times. Mostly during camp, though. I mean, like, we're just playing football, and emotions are high, and we're excited to start playing other teams, and the last couple of weeks there, things get hot. So
I can imagine it's been like that your whole life, but then once you get the pads on and the competitive juices are running, you might not think he's your brother for a little bit.
yeah, good point. We've been competitive since the start. So right, putting on pads and a helmet doesn't help that at all.
So both you is the host family that you were talking about your host family in Florida?
Yeah. Yes, we
Okay.
have a whole family down there. We moved down there when we were 16. It was funny. It's really weird, not weird transition, but quick transition. So we were attending South Collegiate Institute in London, Ontario. Played football there, excelled in football, but we weren't the best students, and we were just not the best students. Yeah. But this opportunity in Bradenton popped up, and I think we got accepted on like a Tuesday. We talked with the family on a Wednesday. We started driving down there on a Thursday. We ate dinner with them that night, and then we stayed in a hotel with my mom, whatever. Fast forward the next day, my mom's driving up to Canada, and we're living with that host family. So
Wow.
Jeez.
a little 4-day period where we were with our mom. We we were introduced to a whole new part of society, and a whole new vision of like success, and like we didn't really want to even go to college back then when we were in Canada. It's just that just wasn't what we wanted to do. We maybe do a trade or graduate high school and do something, but college was not in there. And then we go down south, and they just taught us, Phil and Karen, and the other host family with Tom and Michelle Cautious, they just showed us and taught us how important education is, and how far you can go with that. So I mean, Sid would say the exact same thing. Definitely a life-changing.
Yeah, how different was the football in Florida compared to Canada?
It's a great question.
It's just football culture is different in the States, right? Like,
Yeah.
Canada, it's hockey, but football culture down here, it's like if you're a football player, like, you want to be a football player.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the same. That's the only way I can describe it. I mean, you got thousands of people showing up to the games. People care, right? And you're not just playing football, for your teammates or yourself. You're playing for the fans. You want people to be proud of what you guys are doing on the field. So, yeah.
And not only did you guys go from Canada to American football, you went to the South. And people in the South are crazy about their football. So you had a rude awakening, I'm sure.
I wouldn't say not rude awakening, but it was
in
just
a good
like,
way.
no, we played well, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
It was just like I think the football, we were always talented enough to like compete with these guys, but it was more just like, okay, like these guys are bigger, they're smarter, they're faster. It's like, hey, I got to step up my game here. It's not just going to be showing up on game day and balling out. So
So speaking of coaches in America, and I mean college football, I grew up in Texas, so it was like my religion. We do a college football podcast. We work at Barstool Sports. That's all we care about here. So Brett Bielema is one of the guys we love to pay attention to. I've known Coach Bielema for a long time. He's one of our favorites. What was your first impression of him when you started playing for him? Because I can imagine he is a character both in front of the microphone and off the microphone as well with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's just overall just so big on the details, and I think that's what the outside world doesn't see. It's like, I mean, we have signs all over the place that, you know, are kind of, it's the standard and what we you know, that is a standard on the building, and the first one's do your job. And, I remember one of the first meetings, he came in, he's like, you give me all you got, I'm gonna give you all I got. And you know, that's what it's been since he stepped in the room. And you know, last year was just an introduction to, you know, what he's capable of and this team's capable of. But you know, this year is also you know, set round 2 with Coach B, and you know, he's just, you know, what he's done with the guys in the room and the development and, you know, the situational awareness of the players on this team is, you know, unlike any other team. So, I mean, I think that's where the success is coming from, and, you know, we're motivated as well. So,
Yeah, you probably got that do your job from his time with Bill Belichick in New England and then came back for Illinois. And it's great to see the success from him. Do you have any game day rituals that you have to do, or are you not really superstitious? You just kind of show up to the locker room, get going?
you know what? Anytime I do something that is superstitious, I try to eliminate it. So
Okay, cool.
Really?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I just
Yeah.
don't want to do that. If I'm like if I'm drinking certain things in order, and then the next week I had a good game, so I go do it again, I'm okay. No, like, we're not gonna do that again. We're gonna switch this up. Like,
He's not messing with like the spirits.
Yes.
Yeah, because then if you get too deep into that, it's mentally exhausting. So I've learned from that already. But
And then what happens if like the Gatorade that you drank second 30 minutes before the game, you can't find it at an away game, and then it all goes.
This is the only thing I do before a game. I like
Cool.
new socks, new gloves,
Okay.
and a new headband. That's it. Like that. I don't think that's superstitious though, right? Like
That's
No,
just clean.
no.
I feel like that's just
I
a
think
clean
it's just
thing to
something I do
do.
before
Like
every
that's
game.
just that's just clean. So
Yeah.
you're basically you're superstitious about being superstitious is what I'm hearing. Like you will not be
Oh, yeah.
superstitious.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. So, and speaking of, you know, you talk about not being superstitious. Coach Bielema also told me that you're crazy obsessed with your diet. So he said when he took you and your brother to lunch at some point, I think for media days, that you guys ordered a soda, maybe like a Coca-Cola or something, and it was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Is he telling me the truth, or is that, you know?
No, we got a Diet Coke or something. He's like, you guys drink soda? I'm like, yeah. Like, no, man. That's not just with dinner, no? Like, I don't know. So my brother and I we were just over the top with our diet at one point. We were vegan for about a year, and it was just,
Wow.
we weren't doing it right. I think if you do the whole vegan thing properly and you have somebody cooking for you, go ahead. Like, you have the money for that, go do it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
We're college students, right? I mean, NIL helps a bit, but you know, we don't have a private chef or anything like that. So the whole vegan thing, you know, just wasn't ideal. But that was I just my energy was like gone when
I can imagine.
It was not
Oh,
it.
was the vegan? Yeah. Did you? I've always thought of a vegan thing from a football perspective, kind of like it may not be the best thing because of it's probably lower in protein, and then also I don't know. It feels like Cam Newton went vegan, and then he immediately started taking hits and kind of going down a little bit quicker. I don't want you. I know you've been running through some dudes, so I don't want that edge to go away.
Yeah, no
Thanks
offense
to vegan.
No offense to vegans out there, but we like how powerful running
Yeah,
backs are.
we need
and I
some
feel like
beef.
You need to eat
beef.
some meat.
Yeah.
is what you
We're not going to the vegan diet anytime soon.
No, don't do. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
after you're playing. Once your playing career is over, that's probably the best. But during the playing career, let's get some beef in there.
Yeah.
Some chicken, like whatnot, just so you're healthy and the testosterone's at a good level.
He's clearly an expert on all this, right? Like you just
No, I know.
opened
I
up
need to
some
start
door.
taking some notes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Jack knows about his vegan diet over here. We don't know anything about it. But so when you look at this season, and obviously we're in the early October, you guys have the big game this weekend, and everybody's excited for you guys. Everybody's excited for you. And I know you said off the top of the interview, people always want to talk about you individually. But where do you see this team at the end of the season? And Coach Bielema has done such a good job with the hype. But I mean, you guys are rolling right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing really good football. And Coach B said, good, winning football teams, cover kicks, run the ball, and stop the run. And that's what we've been doing. We're running the ball efficiently. I mean, we're stopping the run, and then our special teams guys are covering kicks really well. So we're eliminating those hidden yardage. But I mean, it's just different this year, where we're playing with a new level of confidence, energy, and what's making it even better is the fans are picking up on that, and they're you're starting to see their support pile up as each week goes on, and that's what's exciting to me is my goal. I know a lot of the older guys on this team. Our goal was leave this place in a better. Leave this place better than what it was when we first came in. So, the fact that we're on a good track right now, doesn't mean that it's going to finish off well. But, we're confident enough to know, we're completely capable of beating every single team on our schedule. So.
I mean, they're looking great. We love when Illinois football turns it around, and it seems like that goal that you guys made for this year is really coming through. And I'm sure you have a lot to do today.
A ton.
We appreciate you stopping by.
Yes, absolutely. And I was going to say, first of all, it's very cool. You wanted to be a private plane pilot, and I know you're going to have a great career in the NFL whenever you're done with this. However, if that doesn't, when you hang it up or when you decide you want to go back to be that, we do go to college football shows and we do fly private. So I think we could have a nice little collaboration here, like down the road. If you want to be our pilot, I think it'd be okay.
Down the road,
an internship for our pilot. I think that would be something. Barstool Sports needs you as our pilot eventually after the NFL. So if that's ever on your radar, let us know.
Yeah, well, hopefully, maybe I'll go down that whole. After, but right now, no. You wouldn't want me flying your plane right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Like I said, you have a long football career ahead of you. But if that ever comes back, we would love to have you. And thank you so much for stopping by.
One last question.
Go for it.
Sure. Does anybody ever comment on it's? I can hear the Canadian accent a little bit.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Sometimes down in Florida, I bet they were like, "Oh, what's that?"
When
but
we
that's
first got down to Florida, and even when I first got to Western Michigan, it was like, I would say about or like,
Yeah, you said
I don't know, just something like that, just doesn't do the Canadian accent. What are you saying? Where's that coming from? Like, so I just
you're very like Canadians are really nice people, right? I will say that you're very nice. You smile a lot. Have you had to like let go of any of that because you're now a college football player? Because everybody from Canada is nice.
I mean, I'm not trying to, play some tough guy role, but yeah.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate it. Good luck this weekend, and hopefully you keep up that number one spot for the rest of the season. We love to see it.
Keep it going. That kid from Marshall's pretty close, so
we believe in you. We believe in you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Fantastic interview.
Great job.
He's so nice.
Remember our last time you and I interviewed somebody?
Who was it?
Think hard. Sorry, pause, but
pause, and
we were in the HQ 2. It was on the phone.
Was it Mike Leach?
No, it was just you and I. It was before Brandon even worked here.
Well, we did interview Mike. Oh no, I did that with Johnny for comeback season.
You did it with Johnny. I wasn't in that
one. You and
I
interviewed
Chris
Middleton.
No.
We interviewed him too, right?
No,
I did that with Coley.
That would make sense because he was A&M. Chris Winkie.
Holy shit.
Remember? And he pitched he's a big religious guy now, and he pitched something from that.
I was at the Sirius headquarters when I was there. We were on the phone. Weren't we?
I thought we were together.
I don't know. I remember doing an interview with you where I was because I had done radio. I think Jared Carabas and I, RIP, were doing radio at the Sirius XM headquarters for that day. And then I was hiding in one of their rooms.
So then maybe
Weird.
Then maybe we were just in different rooms. I remember it was Chris Winky.
It was Chris Winky,
and it was like a 15-minute. It was a fine interview. But
yeah,
this is our
resurgence.
Our resurgence, and hopefully we'll have more like that. Let us know if you liked it. If not, you can also let us know. Comments help the algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, either way, hate clicks or clicks. But I mean, Chase was, as you saw in the interview, like he's just a like very nice, down to earth guy. It seems, but also just like low key. If I was him, I'd have such a bigger ego. Like he's like, I don't really want to talk about leading the country. I'd be like, that'd be what I want to lead with every week.
Yeah, no,
that's why I would not be in front of a microphone all the time.
I think they have like classes for these guys now where it's like just,
they have.
And he didn't give us any bulletin board material. Like they literally destroyed Wisconsin's will, and he was like, yeah, they were a great team, great defense.
That was one of my favorite things. Like that was when he really started to let loose, was when we were like, we'll say it, you got a coach fired.
And he was like, yeah, I did. He said it, he didn't say it, but he was like, yeah, I did.
Yeah. All right, well, we will be back Saturday for our week 6 instant reaction. Brandon will hopefully be joining us. Again, thoughts and prayers to the Walker family. That is Unnecessary Roughness.